Press start.
Well, let's start this episode 153 with just three of us. It's a lightweight crew this week, but it's just enough to keep things rolling, I hope.
We'll still keep it 3 hours.
I think we will. We'll keep under a clean 4 at least. I'm Tim. I'm here with Jeff. You just heard his voice, and Derek. Welcome. And let's get into some stuff. There's not a whole lot of major new games out. We just talked about how last week we talked about how January was, pretty surprising. Had some nice hits, and both Metacritic wise, but also just as far as our podcast goes, like we enjoyed a lot of games that dropped in January. So that was a fun month. Right. Nice surprise too, of course, with what's in your background, which I'm sure we'll talk about a little more. February has heavy hitters. We previewed this month last week. This is February 3rd. We're recording this. None of them have landed yet. None of the big ones have.
They're about to though, for sure. Yeah, and we all pre-ordered like deluxe for Harry Potter. So
next week will be Harry Potter week, and then the following weeks we got other big games, really big games that are going to be.
Yeah, the week after.
Really big games.
So it's a good thing we got that deluxe version, because for those that don't know, you can play it 72 hours early if you get the pre-order the deluxe version of Hogwarts Legacy, and we're all going to be doing that because we want to not just to rush the experience because we got to get to the next big game, but it does help. It does getting that head start. Yeah,
I agree. All right, and I see Derek's got that as his background. Derek, you're not a mega Harry Potter fan. It sounds like you're like me, where you're like, yeah, those movies are kind of fun, but your family probably loves it way more than you do. But you're getting this game, right? You're pretty pumped to play it.
Yeah, I got the deluxe edition on PC, so I'm excited to see. I don't know. I think my hype level is very reasonable. I think some people are like crazy, which they have a right to. They're Harry Potter.
That's me.
Fans. You have a right to go crazy.
Yeah.
But for me, I'm like more excited. Obviously, the controversy. I love controversy.
Give me that drama.
Yeah, give me that drama. No, truthfully, whether it had controversy or not, like when it was announced, zero interest. But as like stuff started coming out, I was like, wait, it looks like making a good game. Yeah. So
and they've shown a lot of it, right? A lot of gameplay they've shown.
Yeah, they've done some very transparent.
Which means they're confident. I would think it means they're confident in their game, don't you think?
I'd agree with that. They're not hiding like another game that's coming out supposedly this year that we'll get to in the headlines. But they're not cagey about anything.
Avalanche Studios, right?
It's the ones who did like Disney Infinity and the Cars games and stuff. So it's not Avalanche that from like the Shadow games or from Mad Max and the Avalanche. The other Avalanche Studios do Mad Max. My expectation is at a Mad Max type of a level. That's a game that like the IP I think is really cool, but I'm not a mega fan. Like I don't know the lore. I just have seen the movies and think they're really cool, and I think the setting is interesting. But I'm not a mega fan. But I played that game going in with moderate expectations, and I had a blast with it. And that game has flaws for sure. It's rough around the edges in certain spots. It's, there's elements of it that are not quite like 10 out of 10. But it is a really fun game, like a solid 8 out of 10 at worst. And that's my expectations for Hogwarts Legacy, is that I'm really going to enjoy it. I'm going to have a blast. And if it's even just lands at above average to good, like I'm going to be very happy with that. That's all I really want. But if it happens to land in the excellent category, dude, that's awesome.
I don't think it's gonna, so what I'm about to say, let me like finish my full thought, but like Forspoken actually made me more excited for this game, because while I don't think Harry Potter, or I should say Hogwarts, plays like Forspoken at all, the vibe that I said last week, that there's certain areas where I was just exploring and you're using all these magic spells and everything like that, made me feel like I was in like a Harry Potter type universe. So that was when I was like, okay, I know they're not going to play exactly the same, but the whole open world, open area, RPG, magic, there's a lot of similarities or parallels that kind of got me more excited, because I am hoping, again, while my expectations I think are very level-headed and not too high, I still want to believe it's going to be better than Forspoken, and I personally loved Forspoken. So, or not love, but I
like
like
it. Better be better than Forspoken, or there's going to be a lot of conversations around this.
Well, hopefully we won't be like, I just moved shit with my brain.
I moved shit with my wand.
Some of the campus stuff and the classroom stuff reminds me of what I remember from Bully, and I don't know if it's going to feel like that whatsoever. But just the idea of you get to kind of pick and choose where you want to go, but you also have to complete assignments, and the classes are like mini games, but there's also a bigger story and some combat type things to go. So if it has that vibe while also a strong Harry Potter vibe, like I am all the way here for it. I'm excited for this game, man. I'm hyped for some not Harry Potter, for Hogwarts Legacy.
Yeah, Harry Potter's gonna have, and all the characters that are from that are gonna have nothing to do with this, and I can't wait. I can't wait.
Aren't there some characters in Harry Potter that are old enough that they could show up, right? Like Dobby or something like that. Aren't those elves really old or something? Like there could be some cameos, right, from really old characters from the movies.
Maybe. I don't think any human characters will be. There might be.
I guess
some...
Fantastic Beasts was set even after this, and they were young then, so maybe not.
Yeah, and they referenced like Gellert Grindelwald and stuff like that in the books, and then in Fantastic Beasts they're actually showing Grindelwald and Dumbledore and all that stuff. So like that's like the prequel stuff from Harry Potter. I guess there's that one guy, Nicholas Flamel, who was in, I think, Fantastic Beasts, the second one.
He was very old in that one.
Very old in that one.
That's
because he had the, he could totally be in this because he had the stone that keeps you like immortal or whatever. Or
nearly headless Nick, so there's like the ghost characters will be there, right? So there's
they could be.
elements.
Yeah, the ghost, the moaning Myrtle or whatever. Yeah, they could be in there. Yeah. All right. That'd be fun.
So anyway, we're excited for Harry Potter. We'll talk about that. Sorry, Hogwarts Legacy. Harry Legacy. We'll talk about that. That's a weird word, a weird phrase. We'll talk about that a lot next week. There's a couple new games we'll get to this week, but I want to kick things off with a new segment that I want to call the Tryhard Tracker. I need a little like jingle for this. So as soon as I say Tryhard Tracker, we get like a little like Tryhard jingle song going for it.
Tryhard Tracker. That's it.
That's the whole thing. Yeah.
I mean, you can't just sing it one more time.
You can't just repeat the chorus. Tracker. You can't repeat the chorus.
Tryhard Tracker.
Tracker.
I actually thought of it like a barbershop quartet, like try hard, tracker. That's where my mind went with it.
So ridiculous. All right.
I love it. So as you guys know, we love a good try hard take, and we love making fun of try hard takes. And to define this for you, it is a take or opinion or a hot take usually.
It's definitely someone. You know who I'm
There's a few
about.
someone.
There are
immediately.
Someone. Yes. But it's one of those takes where you're clearly pushing way more than you have to try to convince people, and you guys can help me define this too. This is how I look at it. Convince people that something is super important to you, or that everyone else, in some ways you're also implying that everyone else should be into it, or finally something good is out, even though there's already been plenty of good stuff out. So like it's a hot take, and it's something that you want to make sure everyone else knows. And you're trying really hard to make sure everyone knows how unique your special hot take is. That's kind of how I always look at it, is you're trying really hard to make sure your opinion is seen and heard. What do you guys think? Is that close to how you define it?
Yes.
Yeah, I always looked at it as like somebody who thinks they see something in a way that nobody else does, and that they're like special because they see things other people can't see.
Did these people not watch Fight Club? It's totally applicable to... what those men are bitter about in that movie. Like, you're not a unique snowflake. Stop trying to be one online,
Yeah. Well, this idea came from actually a conversation that was in our group chat. I think it was earlier this week. It could have been the week before. But one of you brought up a game that won Game of the Year, and we joked about how that's the try-hardest of the try-hard Game of the Year picks. And I forget even what game it was, but it was just a joke that came up briefly, and that kind of triggered a thought in my head. Do you think, what was it? Do you remember what it was?
Were you referring to another podcast that voted a game?
No,
of the year?
We were talking. One of you brought up
Keeley,
like, so and so picked this for their Game of the Year, and we were laughing at how that's a try hard Game of the Year pick, but I can't remember what it was. But that triggered this idea for me, like, hey, because I've seen this site before. It's GameFA.com, and they track all the Game of the Year winners from all major outlets, and they have guidelines. Like, they'll exclude certain outlets if it's just one person's blog or like random whoever.
Okay, I'm remembering now. Easy Allies did their Game of the Year stuff.
And
their best narrative was Citizen Sleeper.
That's what we were making fun of. Yeah.
Yes.
You called it a tryhard. That we were making.
Yeah, it was a little too tryhard for me. Like,
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
I haven't played it, but I mean, come on.
That's fair
dude.
enough. That's
like,
fair.
just come on.
So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna read for you. There's not that many. Out of the 563 outlets that this tracker has logged, it's going to include your obvious ones, your IGNs, GameSpots, Game Awards, etc. But it includes a lot of other ones, much smaller. Like if we were to submit ours, it probably would count because all you really need is to not be a one-person shop. Like us as a small podcast that does a Game of the Year award selection, we probably would be included on here because it's including all kinds of obscure groups. But there's 560.
We matter. Our voice matters.
We matter.
Yeah.
We don't even have to try.
So unique in a sea of 500 plus.
We're a try-hard podcast, is what I'm trying to say.
We are.
But actually, we don't try hard enough. That's our biggest problem.
Yeah, that's the biggest problem. Yep.
Anyway, so out of all of these, there are not 30. That's too many. It was 20 something. 29. Okay, just under 30. 29 different games were selected for Game of the Year. So when they went through the picks of 563 outlets, there were 29 total games. Of course, a few of them got a lot of picks. So I'm going to read these through, and we're going to designate this as a try-hard pick or not, and then we're going to pick what we think is the most try-hard Game of the Year pick of all these outlets. The three of us together will decide.
So hold on one second.
This is good.
So if all of these 500-something, 29 different games won their Game of the Year?
Yeah, so like of 563...
How is it not just 2 games?
I know. It doesn't make sense.
It's already
try-hard.
I will say this: there are a few of these picks that I'm like, hey, I like this game a lot. I could see them really like.
Yeah,
but,
like if they picked Horizon or something, it's like, okay, I get it. Like that game.
There's
really
a few
great.
of them that I'm like, this is really great. Okay, fine.
Yeah.
But we'll really quickly hear a few that are not. Okay, so the top 2, it's no surprise. Right. Of the 563, 411 went to Elden Ring. That was 73%. 17%, which is far and away second place. Everything else is less than 2%, like 1%.
I actually thought this would be higher.
Yeah, me too. I thought it would be more of a split, but
God of War is 17%.
Tryhard, bunch of tryhards. Okay.
So it's fair to say we don't think either of those are tryhard Game of the Year picks.
No,
right?
no, those are number 1 and 2, and that was the argument.
Deserving of an award like that, of course. That's why we were all pretty happy with our final list, knowing our shared tastes and rankings. So, okay. Now it gets a little weird. I'm not saying there's no good ones after this, but the number 3 with 8 Game of the Year awards is Immortality.
No,
that's a try hard. That's
not even a game.
It's a little try hard. I mean, I kind of like those games, but those type of games.
Okay.
But among the sea of other games that were actually more of a game, if I'm making any sense, I'm saying the word game a lot. But you know what I'm saying, because it really is like you're a film editor and you're just going.
But you know what, like when it comes to when it comes to being someone who has control over film footage, I thought Not for Broadcast was way better. And I don't play.
Me too.
So
and I played one episode of that. Yeah, I was like already sold on it.
This is way more
than Immortality. Yeah. Whereas Immortality was like, this feels like homework, and I just put it away.
I'm writing that one down as our first potential.
Yeah, that's the first potential try.
I don't think it'll be our most try-hardy pick. Don't you worry.
I just don't know how it got more votes or more people picking that over Horizon. That's crazy.
I know.
It did. Just behind that one, that had 8 wins. With 7 wins was Xenoblade Chronicles 3. I don't think that's a try. That's not a try-hard pick.
For me, it's not.
It's a good one. I think it's deserving. And then Horizon came in with 5 picks.
Makes complete sense to me. Yeah.
That's not try hard.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. Number 6. This one I don't know. It definitely won't be our most try hard, but it is a little bit considering the other games that were out this year, and that's Pentiment. Really good game. But
so good. Oh man. I'm still gonna jot it down though.
I think it's a little try hardy, right?
Yeah.
A little bit.
What how many people picked that?
Oops.
That's okay.
I did the wrong button here. Okay. That was 4. 4 outlets.
Okay. I'm surprised. I really thought that would be like a singular
And we look up the names and it's like Xbox Bros,
it's unknowns.
Xbox chicks.
Yeah. It's unknowns. Like I've never heard of any of
Xbox dicks.
Oh no, that's not true. I've heard of one of these. Screen Rant picked it as their top game.
Wow.
That's a pretty notable outlet that picked that.
Yeah, they write about games a lot, but I can't say that I'm confident in their knowledge of games.
I agree with you.
Movies are their focus in pop culture.
Like, yeah, it's the same thing with like
stuff.
One of the people that picked God of War Ragnarok was Red Bull, and I'm like, it's a good pick, but I don't really trust them to be the best game.
Exactly. If
anyway.
anything, Screen Rant should have picked Immortality. That's like a movie.
I know.
That's literally a movie game, but whatever.
I know. All right, tied with 3 is A Plague Tale Requiem.
Okay.
And Vampire Survivors.
Okay.
I would describe that as mildly tryhard. I mean, that game is doing a lot with very
little.
I
put it in the same bucket as Pentiment, where I'm like, this is a great game, but that's a bit of a stretch considering, again, what else came out this year. So I'm going to add it.
I agree it's a bit much, but
I love
it's still
game.
Like, it's still I don't know. I would put it above, if we're obviously talking about the overall opinions on it.
Oh,
I would put it above Vampire Survivors. Sorry, Pentiment? I would put it above Pentiment. Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Even though I love Pentiment more, like if we were having a debate right now, I'd be like, oh, Vampire Survivors should be above that. Yeah. So it makes a little more sense than Pentiment.
2 of these next 3 all 3 of these next 3 got 2 votes each, or 2 picks each. 2 of the 3 I think are tryhard. Tell me which ones you think. Citizen Sleeper, Stray, Cult of the Lamb.
Citizen Sleeper and Stray are tryhard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cult of the Lamb is not like my cup of tea, but I can see how
someone might pick it.
Yeah.
Like it's a game.
Yeah.
That's my issue. Like, okay,
like
and I'll admit I'm
biased a little bit.
I'm biased that when I think of like video games, I think of like doing things, taking action. I'm not saying like walking simulators and just, your story-driven games aren't games, but they're not. For me, if I'm gonna pick a award for Game of the Year, it needs to make me feel like I'm playing a game.
Yeah, that doesn't mean you don't
experiencing a story.
Yeah, doesn't mean you don't think it exists. You're just like, why would that be the best Game of the Year? I'm with you.
That's like me like picking a movie for Game of the Year because I had to pick up my controller and turn it on.
Right.
And push play.
Press play.
Like, oh, it's kind of a game.
I think I understand the Cult of the Lamb love because it is very much like Hades meets like creepy Animal Crossing with some village building. Like it's a very unique game. So
it's doing a lot of pulling from a lot of other games to make it one singular experience. It's really cool.
So we're through 11 games so far. We've added 5 to our tryhard list.
Yep.
Now we're down to the games that I've only got one outlet picking them. Those were all the ones that had more than one. So now
I'm more inclined, I don't know about y'all, but I'm more inclined to weigh how many people voted for.
I am too.
Yeah. Instead of just a one-off, like, oh, how dare you, one person, like.
Some of these I think are just strange picks. I don't think they're tryhard, they're just strange picks, but some of them you'll see. All right, here we go. So this one I think is more of a strange one, but not a tryhard pick. It's just maybe they only like racing games. It's Need for Speed Unbound was their game of the year.
All right.
So
that's a weird pick.
Here's my question. Even like when you said Xenoblade Chronicles 3, which I think is a great game, but I don't know, game of the year? I don't know when I'm looking at everything. But I know I watch like a lot of YouTube reviewers, and there's certain ones that they only play JRPGs. So of course, Xenoblade Chronicles 3 is going to win Game of the Year. And then there's some people that only play shooters, so they might be like Call of Duty, or something like that.
Right.
So I'm curious, like on some of these, if it's just like certain guys who only play like racing games, and they're like, my Game of the Year is Need for Speed.
I'll clarify on this one because I just clicked on the link since you were saying I had the same question. This is from a site called Gamer Matters. And their nominees included Citizen Sleeper, God of War, Gran Turismo, Midnight Suns, Ollie World. They didn't even nominate.
Dude, that's full tryhard. It's full tryhard.
They didn't even nominate Elden Ring. So
okay, they're full tryhard. Like I actually want to like kill them now.
Gamer Matters, guys. Gamer Matters. That's how I read their site name.
Gamer Matters.
I hear it said very delicately.
Need for Speed Unbound is very it's trans friendly. There's gay characters as well.
Oh my gosh. All right, we're going to keep going. We're going to keep moving.
I love the way they let me shift my stick.
My car identifies as a gay man.
We're going to keep going. We're going to keep going. Rogue Legacy 2.
Oh, that's a great game.
I don't feel like that's a try-hard pick.
I wish I played it more. That's for sure.
It'd be like a surprise. Like, okay, I guess if you really like those kind of games, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I wouldn't count that as a try-hard.
It's try-hard for me, but again, it's probably a Hades type fan.
King of Fighters 15.
Okay, that's very Tryhard because I own that game. I'm not saying I'm die-hard fighter. It's a great fighting game. But again, several review outlets even said all it is King of Fighters 14 and just prettier.
And I thought it was just a fighting, like maybe a fighting game outlet, but their rankings they do include some fighting games like DNF Duel, but they include Gran Turismo, Chained Echoes, Ninja Turtles, Gotham Knights, Return to Monkey Island. So like
weird choices here.
It's a try-hard pick.
No God of War, no Elden Ring.
No, that's a try-hard pick for me just because of that. Like seeing their glancing through their 10. I'm adding that to the try-hard list. All right.
Is the site called Faggerty.com?
Oh, good Lord, man.
Come on, dude.
Good Lord.
All right. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 was picked by one outlet.
I think,
like I said,
as Derek was saying, I get it if it's like they prefer those type of games. Like
same with this next one. I just don't think for most people they counted it as eligible. But it's a legit pick if you do count it as eligible, and that's The Last of Us Part 1.
Huh.
That one game.
I mean, I guess if you do count it as eligible, and if you've never ever played it before.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say. Like, I think I don't want to contradict myself 11 months later. We're going to talk about Dead Space. We're probably going to talk about Resident Evil 4. And for some of us, those games might potentially be Game of the Year. So I get it.
Yeah.
For me, Dead Space was a brand new experience. Right. It's not going to be my Game of the Year.
But I think we talked about Last of Us Part 1 right away saying, hey, this is not enough of a new thing for it to be eligible, but it is really cool. Like,
and I think most
the way to play
it.
Literally the same game, which I'm not knocking as somebody who's a fanboy for it. It's fine.
But it's just a gorgeous version.
It's prettier, and it's got more frames per second. That's pretty much it.
This is a weird one. I'm going to count this as try hard for me, at least. Sniper Elite 5.
Oh, good Lord.
Very try hard.
Is the name of the publication 5 out of 10, and they just talk about 5 out of 10?
I like that game. It's not even the lowest Metacritic. That one ties Need for Speed with 7.7 on Metacritic. Call of Duty so far that we've listed is the lowest. That's 7.6. Tunic.
I actually thought that Call of Duty was better than that. Tunic
got picked for Game of the Year by.
That's not try hard. No. I'm not a fan of Tunic, but I think if I would have played it longer and got into it, I could see.
It's got that just enough of Zelda and Dark Souls elements. I could see someone falling in love with it.
And I've heard that it really ramps up towards the end as you're unlocking more of the map or instructional manual and stuff. I heard it gets really, really great.
Same with this next one. I don't hold this against anyone for this being their top game of the year, and that's Marvel's Midnight Suns was picked by one outlet.
Yeah.
Damn. I mean, that's a really good game, so I'm not too mad.
I got no problem with that.
Where is Steel Rising and Thymesia?
Oh, we will never get to those. Don't worry. They're not on here at all.
Okay, that's very disappointing.
Neon White.
Neon White. Yay!
I don't think it's not surprising.
I don't think it's a try-hard pick.
I mean, considering the reviews for that game, it makes sense. Yeah.
It was in top 10 lists for a lot of outlets. So
I'm actually surprised, and I don't like the game still. My opinion didn't change playing it more. I'm actually surprised you didn't say more publications gave it Game of the Year.
I know. I am kind of surprised.
There's a lot of people, especially I would think Neon White would get more picks than Pentiment, because there are gaming outlets that love those small little, smaller studios, smaller games.
Yeah. I know it was in the top.
Chicory from last year. Yeah.
This does not weigh any kind of second place, third place, and so on. I think Neon White was in the top for a lot of outlets. It just it only finished to number one for one of them.
Because most people went Elden Ring. Yeah.
All right, here we go. Let's get back to some tryhards. We got several in a row here.
Oh, sweet.
Wordle.
What?
This is a group of old ladies.
This is a bit.
Who only play solitaire.
Guys,
or Wordle.
The best game of 2022 according to The Guardian of UK.
Yeah, it's a bunch of old
Oh
ladies.
my God, dude.
But don't worry, on their top 20 includes games like Marvel Snap, A Little to the Left, Return to Monkey Island.
A Little to the Left is the most try-hard game. Even just bringing it up, these people win. These people win the Tryhard Tracker.
So I'm adding Wordle to the Tryhard Tracker. Just Just Dance 2023 was picked by somebody.
Oh Jesus!
Are you freaking serious? Who picked that?
Serious.
Like what outlet?
Ubisoft.
Right, let's check it out. It is Nerdlicious, and it's all written in a language I don't recognize.
Oh,
it's a troll account.
Let's see if they actually have. Oh, okay. Their other top 10 games include Potion Permit, Lego Star Wars, God of War, NBA 2K23, Pac-Man Museum.
Oh, it's Brazilian.
Okay, yeah. So it's not Spanish. Okay, it's Portuguese. Okay.
Oh, Portuguese. Yeah. Well, the website.
So it could be
website
Brazilian.
Ends in BR, so it
could be Brazilian, but like the language is Portuguese. Is all I mean.
Portuguese, yeah.
And then Just Dance was #1. So there you go. I'm putting that on there because that's pretty bad.
Yeah, that's pretty bad. Wordle is my front runner for
Wordle. As soon as I saw that. All right, guys. Here's another heavy contender: Power Wash Simulator.
Wow.
I'm just gonna add that to the list quietly.
I mean,
sure, you
can add it, but there's a part of me that kind of gets it. Like,
but for Game of the Year,
for Game of the Year,
I have a problem with that. The fact that Tim's like, I like it. Like, I'm like, okay, that's dumb. But if Tim was like, hey guys, I'm really considering this game as Game of the Year, he's fired. He
wasn't even in your 10.
He's
Tim.
fired.
It wasn't even in like your 20, right? It was like just like a game you liked. It was the moment for a brief time. Like,
that kind of experience is actually like a Wordle. It's like the kind of thing you do when you're just going to fill some time, listen to a podcast or some music, or take a crap. Like those are the kind of games that you play when you're doing those things. Anyway, so I'm adding it. I don't think it's gonna win, but I think also Norco is. I understand it got great reviews for folks who loved it, but I think it's a little tryhard.
It's a citizen sleeper pick. It's another text-based game, so yes, I agree.
Same for Marvel Snap, pretty tryhard for a Game of the Year pick.
Yeah.
Let me double check that they're not a mobile.
Like a mobile
yeah, I was gonna say unless you love mobile games,
or maybe they're like a comic book.
Because that's definitely the best mobile game from last year for sure. Not that I played many, but that one is really good.
All right, so they look like they primarily do. No, they do. They cover all kinds of stuff: comics, video games.
Yeah, thrillers, dumb.
And they picked out all kinds of different games.
I can't imagine picking Marvel Snap before they do PvP stuff. That's so crazy. Because I've heard the battle stuff is actually really. They literally just implemented it like a week ago. I heard it's really fun.
Yeah, they're listing like Crusader Kings 3 on console, God of War, Elden Ring, Sonic Frontiers. So they have a bunch of games that are all over the place. So I can't
imagine just being like. Imagine if we were just like, well, we can't agree on God of War, Ragnarok, and Elden Ring. Let's
Marvel Snap it is.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna add one that I talked about this game briefly last week in my Tim's Quick Hits because I did a demo for it. It's called Nightmare Reaper. Got picked as Game of the Year by one outlet.
Good Lord. That is especially tryhard because nobody's heard of it. I mean, I know you played the demo, but you know what I mean. Like, it's just it's not on anybody's lips.
It's not even the best version of what it's trying to do. You know, like that very kind of pixelated but cool animation, first person fast action game. There's lots of games like that now. A lot of people are making, like Proteus is one of the better examples of that right now. Like it's a really good one. This is not a really good one of those, but anyway. Okay, we got Nightmare Reaper. Oh, for some reason Norco's on here twice. Did Norco win 2? It might be on here twice.
Oh wow, interesting.
List might be wrong. Return to Monkey Island.
No.
I don't know if that's the most tryhard, but it's a little bit. It's a
little bit. It's like a quarter tryhard to me because I like it
for Game of the Year
for the type of game it is.
For best game of 2022.
If you only dabble in, if you're a publication that is full of people that work there that only dabble in adventure games, that's one of the better ones to come out last year. Believe it or not, I'm surprised I'm saying this. As Dusk Falls, I liked it better than Return to Monkey Island as far as point and click kind of adventure games go.
That's fair. Yeah.
And I'm surprised I'm saying that because, As Dusk Falls doesn't give you a whole lot to do as a gamer, whereas Return to Monkey Island kind of does.
Well, this last one I'm not going to count just because I went to their website and it's just like their Imager account, and I can't really tell what it is they do. They picked F122, like racing game, but I can't even tell if they're legitimately covering games. So I'm not even going to count that one.
Oh, okay, that's fair.
Even though they do on here. All right, so there's our tryhard Game of the Year picks.
I don't know why we're not in this website then if they're going to count random Imager guy.
Let's submit ours. We got to submit ours. It says it's still compiling. I bet you we could submit it now that we're looking at it. But all right, so we highlighted some of our what we've dubbed as the most try-hard Game of the Year picks. Immortality, Pentiment, Vampire Survivors, Citizen Sleeper, Stray, Need for Speed Unbound, The King of Fighters 15, Sniper Elite 5, Wordle, Just Dance 2023, Power Wash Simulator, Norco, Marvel Snap, Nightmare Reaper, and Return to Monkey Island. Derek, what do you think's the most try-hard Game of the Year pick from last year?
I'm just gonna say Wordle.
Yeah.
I think it's by far Wordle. That's the dumbest thing.
It's gotta be Wordle, dude.
It's gotta be
How
Wordle.
far are we into the pandemic and that's still your game? Like, Jesus Christ.
I'm sure their movie of the year is like 80s for Brady or whatever.
It's a boomer list for sure. It is totally a boomer list.
All right, I'm just gonna pick that one as our pick, and that's it. We don't have to do anything else. It's Wordle for sure.
80 for Brady. Oh my god, dude. I watched the trailer going, there's no way this is real. This is not a real movie.
Some of the other big offenders are things like Just Dance. I think that's a pretty big one. And even the site that seems pretty big to cover lots of games, to pick Need for Speed Unbound, I think that's a bit of a stretch.
The only ones I ended up marking like with an asterisk was Wordle, obviously, and Nightmare Reaper, because that to me feels like, well, nobody's heard of this, so I have to pick it.
Yeah.
You know, like it's so try hard, dude.
It definitely is. So there you go. There's your winner.
This is a good segment, dude.
Yeah. Like Try Hard. That's our first segment of Try Hard Tracker. We got other things. It won't just be Game of the Year picks. It'll be hot takes on stuff. We'll cover those too.
We're gonna have plenty of games that we could like pull random reviews for.
What's the most try hard review for this game? Yeah.
Try hard take.
Yeah. What's the most try hard take? So we'll.
One of my favorite comments that I continuously read from the same person. That's an incredibly try-hard comment, is anytime there's an exciting PS5 exclusive that comes out, they go, and it still happens, they go, man, this might make me get a PS5. And I'm like, bro, you've been saying that for a year. Like, I mean, you're so try-hard, dude. You're only not getting one out of stubbornness just to say that.
They're not that hard to find anymore. Like, if you put in any effort.
No, it's so true. You can.
I get advertisements all the time for them.
Yeah, their production has been ramped up significantly since this time last year, for sure.
Yep. All right, let's talk about a couple of new things that dropped this week before we get in. I think headlines is where some of the most interesting stuff is for this week. But there were a few new games. Game Pass dropped a new game called Inkulinati. It's supposed to be like Illuminati, but it's Inkulinati, I think. It's not easy to say. And I only think it's a play on the Illuminati thing because it is a very tongue-in-cheek, trying to be silly kind of a game. If you guys tried it, it is a first of all, the art style is cool. Like, they did a good job with the hand animation, the drawing, and they even have some cutscenes that are live action, like with a real guy in armor walking up to a nun and challenging her to this like ink battle that they're gonna do on this book. So the short version is, if you saw stuff like Darkest Dungeon where you have a 2D battle line and the enemies, the two forces are going at each other, it kind of has that setup sort of, but you can move characters around. So it's turn-based, and you move your characters around to try to hit the other ones, either off the edge, kind of Smash Brothers style, or just take their health all the way down to they're dead. And the main one you want to take out is their what do they call them? Mini ink or something like that. It's the little person who's like drawing them. So each of them has like a main leader on their side that's got like a pen and a desk, and they're the ones drawing their army to go attack. So that's kind of the gist of it. It's actually an interesting take on another side, like a strategy genre. I wasn't really into it. I could see people liking it though. The art style is interesting. So anyway, that's what game is.
I watched like a few seconds of gameplay and I was like, no.
It's turn-based. It's got strategy elements. So those aren't your things already. I know that.
I'm coming around on that type of stuff. It's just the type of version of that I was turned on.
You gotta be picky and choosy with that, because you
have to, yeah. There's so many.
I'll be honest with you, if I was like new to game developing, probably the easiest game you can make is like a turn-based game. They're probably the easiest game to make. Yeah. So I think we get way too many turn-based games. So
yeah, that's true.
Unless you're special, I have no interest in.
But it is on Game Pass. It's an early preview, and they even say that a lot. And they're like, "Hey, give us feedback. This is an early in development." So like, you cut them some slack when things don't look or work perfectly. But it's nothing that
not with a name like that. I don't cut it slack.
I hear you. It's a bad title. It's hard to say,
there's some questionable tryhard names of games this week.
This one's gonna win someone's game of the year, and we'll talk about it.
I bet.
Yeah, someone's gonna pick it. Deliver Us Mars was actually, for some folks, pretty highly anticipated. I know Kyle had played it. Jeff, did you end up playing it at all? Or Kyle was talking about playing it. Did you play it?
I did. I played the first. I think I played the first. No, yeah, it was the prologue and then the first chapter.
Is it
so
free?
I'm not. No, it's $20 on CD Keys. That's where I got it.
Okay.
This is one that if it hits Game Pass or something, I'll definitely, or Epic Games, I'll definitely.
Might be worth that.
Check it out.
I haven't played Deliver Us the Moon at all, and that's the prequel to this, and they do tie into each other quite directly. Apparently, in Deliver Us the Moon, I had to look it up. I didn't actually watch a video yet or anything recapping the story, but the character that you're playing as in Deliver Us Mars, I'm gonna mix them up now. Is referenced in Deliver Us the Moon because I think she's the daughter of somebody that the first game focuses on or something.
It's like a narrative adventure game, right? Like you explore.
It's narrative and there's puzzles, but it's more narrative than I would say at least early on, it's like 60%, 65% narrative and the rest is puzzle stuff. Like it's overwhelmingly narrative and
does it look good? Is it visually like
I would say its weaknesses are in like the character animations and the character models. And there's some glitchiness in there. So like there's some 7 out of maybe even less, maybe 5 out of 10 things you'll see in the engine in game. Mm-hmm. But other than that, like the design of like your environments and when you're like there's a part where I get to do like a shuttle launch, like straight up like NASA style. You take a car to or like it's like a shuttle of some kind. You take it from base to the actual shuttle that you're going to go up in space in. And it's like this long drive and like it's like dusk or something. And the way the sun is reflecting I'm just like, wow, this is actually really gorgeous.
That's cool.
So the visuals are quite good. It's just
and in a game like that, you want space to look good, right? So as long as the space looks good, then people.
I've only had one moment of that so far because I did do chapter 1 is you're trying to wiggle your way into this mission to go to Mars because you heard your dad's voice and he disappeared.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
So the way that they did the launch, well, first they have you do this puzzle that's kind of easy to just try to get you used to what the game is asking of you when in its quote unquote challenging moments. But like after that, the shuttle stuff is really cool because it's a 4-person crew and one of them is your older sister and she'll like go down a checklist and the checklist is long and I imagine it's probably this long for actual astronauts because it felt like a well-researched segment of the game because they're asking me to do totally different things to turn knobs and stuff like that. And I'm like, this is so cool. Like, I didn't know I wanted some type of space launch, like shuttle launch simulator until I played this game.
But here we are.
That's only a brief segment of the game. And then you go up into space. And then there's a moment where I'm in space and outside of Earth's orbit and you go to a window with your sister and you're looking at it. And I'm like, this is gorgeous. Like
That's cool.
There's some of it that is really gorgeous. And the voice acting is so good. I am shocked, like, because I don't know any of these people that are acting.
Makes you appreciate when it's good, man, because when it's bad, it's so hard to listen to in some games.
Dude, definitely. Especially when it's like, what is that accent? Like, it's always somebody with like an accent you can't place, like some French person disguising themselves as American or something, and you're like, come on, you're not fooling anybody. Whereas this one, it's all like mostly British people, and they just have a good, I don't know, they just have good instincts when it comes to line readings. Like, they just have good charisma and interplay with each other and stuff. And there's actually some funny moments too.
You think you'll finish this one? Like, are you interested enough?
I might. I just don't know how long it is. That's the only thing. If it's too long, then it's like, I don't know. But it can't be too long because these type of cheaper narrative-driven experiences tend to just be like 6 to 8 hours, right? So, I mean, it can't be too long, I would imagine.
Let's see if anyone's got it yet.
But I am very curious to go up to Mars. I haven't done that yet. I'm still like on the actual way there.
There's only one submission on how long to beat, and it says 7 hours for completionist.
Wow, so it's kind of short then. It's probably. See, they actually do kind of create even though it's kind of a linear experience, they do create several areas you can kind of sneak around in to find collectibles or something, but they don't really add value to what you're doing in the game.
It's funny, the image on it, not only do you look like Lara Croft in space because you have the ice pick and you're like a brunette girl in this suit, but then also it looks like you have one of the Guardians from Destiny.
You do.
Like flying above.
Yeah, it's every astronaut has their own like AI companion, basically. Yeah, or at least I think it's because the dad was in charge of the project, and the AI were his design, and he like bequeathed them to his daughters. So like it's like in the prologue, it shows him abandoning the space station to go to the moon, which kicks off the events in the first game. And right before he does that, he changes the ownership of one of the droids, the floating droid things, to the main character
and that's
in this game.
In Mars.
Yeah, the prologue was a little discombobulating too. Like the pacing of it was a little weird because I feel like they really wanted me to play the first game. Like they really did, and I'm so lost on some of the details.
Not gonna do it, but now I'm confused.
But at the same time, they do have the sisters that are in this game are completely in the dark on what happened to their dad. So you're kind of on the same playing field as them if you only pllayed this game.
Okay.
So you kind of
you've really triggered Dan.
I was gonna say if Dan were here, he'd be like, "You play from the beginning. That's how you play. Which is why he will never play Fire Emblem.
His policy actually makes sense for this game because Deliver Us the Moon is literally the first game in the series.
Well,
and it's like I'm picking up.
We have this little invention called YouTube.
Right.
I
can easily look up a synopsis. Yes.
Exactly. Yeah. A story recap, and then be like, "Oh, I can play this game now."
I would describe it because of the faults and it might just be a budget related thing where they're a smaller developer, because of the faults in the character model and some of the glitchiness and stuff like that. But on the upside, you have like this. I love space stories and stuff, like sci-fi stories, and apparently the developers do too. They love Interstellar in 2001, and they just wanted to make games that are like that. So like when you balance those out, it really does come out to be like a Swimming in Sevens type of experience. It really does.
Sure. Yeah.
So far it's pretty good. I'm just waiting for it to ask me to do more stuff, because right now it's just walking me through the story and occasionally asking me to do like a puzzle or two.
Okay.
But we'll see.
I'm playing a game that just came out this week too. I also think it's a Swimming in Sevens kind of a game. It's called Helvetii. It's spelled really annoyingly. It's Helvetii. I'm like, all right. Is this like a Nintendo Wii?
Like I said, this is the Inkulinati.
Yeah.
Inkulinati thing.
The art style and the the combat style that I saw on the Steam store page caught my attention. It just looks like a game that I would like. So I tried it out. It kind of reminds me, like the art style at least, or maybe it's more of like the engine it's running on reminds me of Eiyuden Chronicles Rising, where you have kind of very bright, vibrant backgrounds, and then the characters are very crisp and clean, but they're like layered on the front of the backgrounds, like almost storybook, but not quite. And I think Eiyuden Chronicles Rising kind of had that same appeal to it. I like that art style a lot more. It was whimsical and it was creative and really kind of popped. This one doesn't have the same pop in all of it, but it's still pretty good. It's a much darker game too, like lots of blood and that kind of thing. So it's just a much darker game. But it is a character action game, and it is meant to, you have a number of chances to get through as far as you can, and then eventually you're going to restart with, like I said, a little bit of a rogue-like element to it, where you'll restart with some upgrades permanent, some not. You have 3 characters to choose from. I don't know if there's more later. But one of their designs in particular makes me super uncomfortable. It's like this centaur, but instead of a half horse, it's like a half fox. So it's like an adult. It's like an adult top half and a fox bottom half.
What?
Very uncomfortable. Like, I don't want to look at, and that's one of the characters you can use. And I was like, nope, not going to use that ever. But the other characters, I think the designs are pretty cool. And the combat's pretty good. It's not as responsive as I would have liked, but it's still pretty good. And I like some of the combos and beat 2 bosses. It feels pretty good to beat bosses. It's not super difficult yet. Maybe it gets really tough later, but I think it's a cool game. It's only like $13 right now on sale, 15 full price. Yeah. But it's worth a look. I think if nothing else, the art style is kind of cool to look at. So I think Helvetie's a cool little game if you like side-scrolling character action games. And the last newish game that we're talking about is Superfuse. I haven't played this one.
Yeah, this one had a demo during the Steam demo extravaganza, whatever the hell that was called, a few months ago. And I did not like the demo because there's no controller support.
So you're like, why not buy the game?
Yeah, exactly. Why not buy the game? But no, there was an element of hype there because it's an ARPG, like it's a Diablo with superheroes, basically. So you have, starting out, you have the option of 3 characters you can choose from. I chose, in the demo, I played as like the muscle guy who just beats the hell out of people. He's super strong. And then the new playthrough, I am somebody who can cast magic, like cast fire and ice mainly. I'm still disappointed. It's an early access, so I can't really punish the game or the developers too much for this.
Well, this game looks cool.
But there's no controller support, and the way you move around is you basically hold the left click on your mouse and just move around.
Oh yeah.
You're not really using the arrows on your keyboard or WASD. You're not really using that.
No.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm already out. Like if they can add those features,
right?
It honestly looks like an isometric City of Heroes. I used to love that MMO, and
dude,
also
there's
like a little bit of Borderlands to the style, like a little bit cell shaded look to it.
Yeah, there's a cell shaded look to it for sure. And nice. Honestly, like killing things was really fun. Like, so I can't even be mad about that part.
Oh, it's like hordes of enemies coming at
you. Yeah, there's hordes of enemies coming at you.
Blood everywhere.
You just get distance. You create distance from them. Well, I mean, at least as the person I'm playing as, who is a ranged character. So I'm like constantly creating distance, but it feels really good to kill these things, whatever they are. They're like infected or whatever starting out. I remember in the demo getting really overwhelmed by weird looking bugs and getting killed all the time. So like the demo was extremely hard. Gotcha. And this game starts out a little more forgiving. But yeah, as soon as they add controller support or change some of their keyboard mappings, I will probably start singing its praises a little more.
Yeah.
Because
most of the reviews are like it's only got a 50% positive review.
Yeah, that's why it's mixed.
But like, most of the reviews say there's a lot of promise. Give it 6 months or more. If they clean it up, it could be great. Like there's lots of that. So this is one that I'll keep an eye on.
This is a game with potential. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's cool.
I got a new game too.
Yeah, what are you playing?
Lust Theory Season 2. It's a banger. Yeah, they've been advertising it on Steam, so.
Sounds like you've got your settings tuned a certain way. Is what it sounds like.
Yeah.
Oh.
They got great controller support.
Of course, you're playing this.
Good grips and everything.
Look at Jeff's reactions to the stuff he's seeing.
I mean, the screenshots right away show you.
That's why I like
some nice stuff. That's all I'm saying.
When my daughter was like living with me, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like a bunch of adult games would pop up, and I'm like, oh my gosh, they just start playing it. She's sucking D. Oh my.
Good Lord.
You can turn off those adult-only games.
Reviews are very positive.
Oh, I bet you they are. I love the reviews because I've read some. I don't know if it's for this game, but some of the other adult ones, and they'll say stuff like, "Great game to play with my son," or "Quality time with my son."
Some of those the reviews said that. I love when the reviews do that kind of stuff, man. That's pretty funny.
I love how some of these are like Cyberpunk 2077, Elden Ring. Jesse, I'm a man of culture. I need deep storytelling, and it's a picture of Heisenberg. What is with the Heisenberg memes?
A lot of Heisenberg, like drawn out with the text or whatever, right? Yeah. I see a lot of that.
And then recommended. One review just said, "I nut."
Oh my gosh. So
just for the record, I did not buy this game.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. All right. Fair enough. I was going to ask you for your in-depth review. I'm glad we don't have to go through that.
I get real deep.
No, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. All right.
Like I said, it's a banger.
All right, I do want to talk about the latest episode of The Last of Us, but real quick, I saw there's 2 other things on the newly released. One is Knock at the Cabin, the new M. Night Shyamalan movies. And then I don't know what Cunk on Earth is. I never even heard of it. So tell me about those first, and then let's talk Last of Us.
It's the funniest title in the world to me. Cunk on Earth.
You just want to make me say it out loud.
Oh, I did. I just wanted to write it. Yeah, you can remove it now. No, I'm kidding.
So what's Cunk on Earth? Tell me about Cunk on Earth first.
Okay, I'll start there because I genuinely like this. Okay. Apparently, this actor has been playing a fake journalist called. Her name is Philomena Cunk.
That's a great name.
The name gets me, and she is interviewing actual people like scholars, philosophers, all these people that are experts in their field, but they're aware that it's not like Borat where they're like, gotcha.
Okay.
They're aware that she is playing a character that is stupid, and they're instructed to answer her questions as seriously as possible and not try to joke back, basically.
Gotcha.
And that adds a lot to it. It's really funny, but like it's a British show. I guess some of the subjects she interviews are not British, so it's not entirely British.
Is it kind of like Jiminy Glick, basically? Is it kind of like Jiminy Glick?
I've never watched Jiminy
like
Glick.
Martin Short's
I'm familiar.
character.
I'm familiar, okay. But I've never watched his show.
I was just watching like 2 or 3 hours before we recorded Between Two Ferns, and it sounds like it's that.
Between Two Ferns is a little more
in on it, but they're playing themselves. Like they're just kind of.
Between Two Ferns is more like they're making fun of each other or being mean at each other.
I still love when Steve Carell's already defensive when he talks to him.
Yeah. It's like immediately defensive.
One of my favorite.
It's like, just make your jokes about my nose and let's get this out of the way.
He's like, if you're at the beach and everyone yells shark and gets out of the water, but it turns out it's just Steve Carell doing the backstroke.
Well, you're fat.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so funny.
Is that the one where he starts tapping the mic?
I think
talking about what's right here, right? What's right here? What's in you right here? And he starts.
I don't remember
the mic.
His way of wording stuff is what's hilarious. I don't remember exactly how he said it, but the one with Keanu Reeves where he's like, do you study do you study for your roles? And he's like, yeah. He's like, have you ever thought about like studying for somebody who actually took acting lessons? And Keanu Reeves,
his reply was so good.
He's like, I'm pretending to have fun right now. How am I doing?
I remember there was one where he was supposed to have Jennifer Aniston on, but then he kept having Tila Tequila come out. Wasn't that her?
Yes, it was. And she took over the interview and sat down in the chair, and Jennifer Aniston just kind of standing there.
He's trying to be polite about it, like, okay.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, that was so good. All right, so Cunk on Earth.
Cunk on Earth doesn't really like that.
Even it's not like that, but it's in the same spirit of like,
yes,
got a character and then real life people, and they're in scenes together. So there's a
but there's a documentary element to it. So like on Earth, it's about the history of this planet. But apparently she's done several like Cunk on Shakespeare and stuff like that. She's done several shows that I've never heard of. But Netflix acquired this. They already aired it in the UK, but Netflix acquired this specific series and put it out last week. It's 5 episodes. They're all half hours. I finished it in one sitting. It was so easy. Some of the funniest lines like in a fake documentary thing I've ever seen in my life. It's so funny. Like when she has an episode on religion, then when she starts talking about Jesus, she's like, he was a carpenter. His name was so ironic because. This is a narration. She's like, his name was so ironic because his name is are the first 2 words that you would say if you hit your hand with a hammer or whatever. And she's doing it. She's saying these things so seriously, like a Richard Attenborough or whatever type of
Jesus Christ
documentary. And then there's a moment too where she is talking. This is a few episodes later, where she's talking to somebody about going to space. And she's interviewing, like, I don't know, some type of astrophysicist or something. And she's like, so Russia sent Spunk up to space. And he's like, Sputnik? Did you mean Sputnik? And she goes, oh, is that Russian for spunk?
All right, so she's pretty clever then.
Yeah, she's really funny. She's just
clever.
Really rapid fire. And then like he explains that Sputnik died. And she's like, it's an uncensored show. She's like, get the F out of here. Are you freaking serious? She's so broken up, and he keeps trying
even
to
though
explain.
They know they're supposed to keep a straight face and all that, like they don't necessarily know everything she's gonna say, probably.
Right, exactly. They're having to play it as serious.
That's pretty
as
fun.
possible.
I like that kind of stuff.
It's really funny, man. And this is the reason I found out about this character specifically, without even knowing her name. I saw TikTok clips of her interviews, and all the comments are like, "Is she for real?" Like, because they can't tell because it's so dry. So I knew that this actor was doing this type of stuff. I just didn't know the name of it. So when it popped up on Netflix, I was like, oh, that's what that is? Oh, okay. I'm going to watch that like right away.
I didn't finish it, but I like that stuff too. They had one, I forgot what it's called, some murder one. But like Jason Bateman is the only one who's not, like, he doesn't have a script.
Yes.
So he doesn't know what he's going to be asked to do. And everybody else has scripts and they're all acting. And he'll just tell, like, I forgot the guy. The guy does like Lego Batman. He's got
Will Arnett. It's his podcasting buddy.
Yeah.
So I love that show. Yeah.
Stuff he was telling him to do.
Did you see the one with Marshawn Lynch?
He's so good.
That one was good too. All right, so
Cunk,
let's check that one out. Did you have as much fun with Knock at the Cabin, the new
No, unfortunately. And I'm kind of glad that I had something I enjoyed to talk about, because Superfuse and Deliver Us Mars is kind of good, but like Superfuse kind of whatever. So a lot of things kind of left.
Yeah, new stuff was a little flat for me this week too, other than Last of Us episode.
So Knock at the Cabin was a little flat for me, but I think you'll find people feeling in the middle about this movie. Like, I haven't heard anybody say this is my favorite movie I've seen in a long time. I haven't heard anybody say that. Most of them are going, oh, that was okay, or that was what I expected for M. Night, meaning if they didn't like him, then it's bad to them. But a lot of people that are just only willing to go like, oh yeah, that was like a B, like a solid B. Nobody's really going, this is amazing.
That was kind of what people thought about Split, I think, was like BC range.
That's how I felt about it, certainly. But there were some people that were like, "That was one of my favorite movies of that year," and I'm like, "You're an insane person. That's not."
But that was like, it was a rare kind of upswing for him.
It was, yeah. And then people started caring about his work again. But I think it's because he stayed away from franchises and stuff. Like now he's doing his own thing, what he wants to do, basically. Yeah. With horror.
Because he did After Earth too, which is one of his worst ones, right?
Yeah, and I think that was like a Will Smith pet project. I think he hired M. Night.
So that wasn't really M. Night's creation. He was just
it was more.
And then I think his worst one has to be The Happening. It's like one of the worst movies I've ever seen.
I haven't seen The Last Airbender, but I hear that's.
Oh, I forgot he did that.
The Airbender one's the one that got hit on or crapped on the most.
Yeah, definitely, especially because of source material.
How is Batista in Knock at the Cabin?
He's so good, dude. He continues to show that he's the best wrestler turned actor. Like, sorry, The Rock. I know you make a lot of money. But like,
The Rock plays the same character and everything.
Plays the same character.
He's The Rock. Over. Yeah, it's like Jason Statham.
I'm not a big fan of The Rock.
It's the same thing over and over. Yeah, exactly. It's just too repetitive. Whereas Batista's like, no, man, give me something with range. So like, he's on the screen through most of the movie. Like, I mean, the movie starts with him meeting the little girl, which is in the trailers. And he's in most of the movie. He's doing most of the talking, and he's able to carry it, man. He's a genuinely a good actor. But yeah, I think the premise deserves explaining. So like 4 people invade. There's this like gay married couple and their adopted kid, and then being gay does come into the plot. But like they're just enjoying a vacation, and then these 4 people just come into their cabin and is like, I think they explain it in the trailer. Batista says, you guys have to sacrifice one of yourselves to prevent the apocalypse.
Right.
And the whole movie is the 2 guys, and I guess the daughter too. She doesn't really talk much. The 2 guys trying to figure out if they're serious or not. Like, do you really believe this? Like, this feels like you're just attacking us, because they do say that we're gay. Like, you're attacking us because we're gay and stuff like that. So like,
I mean, I could get triggered by that, but I'm like, yeah, that's real life. That's literally what somebody would post. Like, it's because we're gay or we're black.
Well, one of the characters in the movie does have a history with being attacked. So he automatically was like, they're here because we're gay. Anyway, the performances are not the issue, actually. I enjoyed all of the performances across the board. It's just M. Night tends to get in his own way when he writes dialogue. Like,
he did with Lady in the Water, because that movie I still think had potential. It just didn't.
I agree.
It just didn't deliver, and I think a lot of it was him trying to do too much. A much simpler version of that story actually could have been really good, but it just wasn't.
It's just the way he has characters.
Does he actually write the dialogue, or does he just write the stories? Like, this is my idea, let's bring it to life.
He at least helps. Like, he at least writes drafts and has others write with him. I think he's the main writer.
He's an auteur. Yeah, he writes almost all of his movies. And this one is no different. I'm pretty sure he. Yeah. So like, he just tends to. Okay, so he did co-write it with people, but the movie Old, for example, if you go back and watch that, he has a solo.
I still haven't seen it. I'm just not interested in that one.
But that movie's not good to me at all. But he has a tendency to write characters that talk like they're not human. They just say things that are only meant for characters in a movie to say. Like, you're like, you're not acting like a real person. You're saying things that have to do with the plot directly to the audience at this point. Like I just don't.
Which is too bad because he's written some movies and of course made some movies. You mentioned the first three when we were talking earlier. Of course, Sixth Sense, Unbreakable, and Signs. All I think are excellent movies. I love them.
Those movies.
But I actually think there's 4. I think The Village. Personally, I loved The Village. I don't know if it was just the time of my life when I saw it or what it was, but I thought the twist at the end was equally like, whoa, this is so cool. Like I loved it.
Interesting. I think my view of that movie is a little tainted by my first experience seeing it. I was in high school. I was with like my first girlfriend at the time. Everybody in the theater was like a super too cool for this type of kid. And everybody was just laughing or rolling their eyes at the movie and stuff. It was just not.
I just saw it with a few friends at our house. We rented it because I hadn't seen it. And we just
I think I need to watch it again by myself because I'm getting too influenced by the atmosphere I was in.
Yeah, not to distract too much into M. Night full-on discussion, but I do think he's had some movies that I'm like, dude, this is great, start to finish. I loved it.
Yeah, Unbreakable. He needs to do something like Unbreakable again, where he's like forced to kind of rein in the dialogue. And like the best moment in that movie is a quiet scene where his son is reading the newspaper and discovering that. I get chills thinking about it, actually. He's like reading a headline that says local man saved or whatever by stranger, by whatever. And he's looking at his dad like, was that you? And his dad just does like a quiet nod. It's Bruce Willis, quiet nod to him like, yeah. And it's like his son just starts like crying. Like he's just so proud and like touched that he actually did, he followed through on that. And that's just one of the best scenes he's ever done. And there's no dialogue in it. And I'm like, do more of that, bro. Like why do you have to pepper in like such explicit he's like beating you over the head with the themes of the movie in Knock at the Cabin because there's some religious stuff in it and he is just beating you over the head with it, man. It is just at one point a character literally explains what each of the 4 like he explains like literally what some people are a metaphor for. And I'm like, you're not supposed to explain that to the audience. We're supposed to be able to piece that together ourselves. It was really weird. It's that's just the way he writes, You
gotta have some subtlety, people.
Yeah.
It's like a lot of people that watch my movies are white. White people are dumb. So I have to explain everything.
That's probably M. Night's philosophy. I mean, look at his background. He's probably like, these freaking white people, man. I gotta make it stupid.
So
all right, well, this week aired the 3rd episode of The Last of Us. Looking forward yet again to episode 4 and the preview. By the way, I know we'll talk about episode 3, but the preview got me so pumped because that's where the game really picks up steam. Like the game is cooking, but then the section they're getting to in the show is the section of the game where it just starts to launch into the most incredible action set pieces and all kinds of crazy stuff happens. So I'm looking forward to seeing the next episode as well. But episode 3, and everyone's been talking about it. So like our conversation about it's way behind. And I don't want to sit here and talk for too long about it. But
what's the general consensus? Because I have not paid attention. I have my own opinions, but do people hate it or
people are calling it the best hour or episode of TV because it's almost 2 hours, I think. Like it's like an hour and 40 minutes.
Hour and 20, like the first
hour
episode.
20. Yeah. Okay. I was looking at the total count. I guess there's stuff at the end, right? So it's hour and 20 minute maybe.
Yeah. There's the credits and then they have like behind the scenes stuff. Yeah. I tend to skip behind the scenes stuff.
It's being lauded as one of the best episodes of TV in recent memory.
I said that the night
that is Tryhard gay. But go ahead.
No, that's how I felt.
So I think this was a great episode, but it reminded me a lot of I know Jeff, you've watched Mythic Quest. Derek, did you ever watch Mythic Quest?
I like an episode or two.
I think it's season 2. They have an interrupting episode out of nowhere. That
season 1 does it too. Yeah, both seasons do it.
Was the season 1 that had this one of the 2 game makers?
Yes.
That was season 1. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And it's totally a timeout from this ridiculous, raunchy, crazy show that it is, right? Mythic Quest is just over the top and insane and like not for kids and all that stuff. Yeah. Then all of a sudden you have fun this show. almost totally disconnected, and it's connected, but like the story itself would have made a great like Black Mirror episode or something. It kind of had that, but just kind of felt really. It wasn't creepy like Black Mirror. It just had complete story, and it was
the life cycle of a developer, like
and a relationship, so it was a very sweet story with some heartbreak and just kind of like It was just, I thought it was very well told.
Because they made one of the best like games. The story goes, they made one of like the best games, like a Diablo, Warcraft level game. Yes. And then one of the partners involved with the development of that game decided to sell out and like make all this extra, corporate DLC and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And that's when they had a rift.
And it's a couple. So it's the guy from New Girl, Nick. What's his name? Is it Nick something? No, what's his name?
Crap.
Jake.
That's
Jake.
The character's name. Jake Johnson. Yeah.
Jake Johnson.
Is it Kristen Milioti? Is the girl? I think that's.
Yes, she's in a great episode of Black Mirror too, which is probably why my mind went there.
Palm Springs as well. In that movie.
She's awesome. In that episode of Black Mirror with Jesse Plemons, where he's doing like Star Trek capturing and stuff. Anyway. Okay, let me bring it back to this real quick. The reason I'm comparing it to that is I think this episode of Last of Us it does an excellent job of telling a connected and yet completely separate story. Like if they could have really dug in more to their story, because they do a lot of time jumps in this episode, and it could have been a much bigger story of Bill and Frank in a standalone film almost. Like it could have been its own little film of this post-apocalyptic experience that these two guys had. And I thought it was very well done, very well acted. I just thought they did a good job with it overall. Like, was it necessary for all the things they could have dug into with the show? You can make an argument that it wasn't. That's fine. Like, if you want to make the argument that they didn't need to do this, that's totally fine. But the video game, already my first playthrough, and I saw what happened, and it's very different, by the way, if you had never played the game. I don't know if you're listening to this.
It's not even like close.
It's not even, well, it's not in terms of like what happens to them, but it's pretty heavily implied that these two guys were more than just friends. Like, it's pretty obvious in the game.
Oh, I know. I'm gonna talk about it in a second.
So I had no, and some people have come out saying like, I just had a real big problem with the whole like gay story. I'm like, well, it was already in the game. So if you didn't like that, that's fine.
I don't have a problem with that, by the way.
But and I just thought it was so, like, is it something that I can personally relate to? No, but I can relate to a love story and the heartbreak and the tragedy of it all. So like, I just thought it was a very well told story, and just wonderfully acted, like really, really wonderfully acted.
So overall, I like it. I like it. So let me say that, because I'm going to criticize it now. Overall, I liked it. Like, I didn't get off going, oh my God, this is trash. But it was starting to lose me because, again, I'm a fanboy for the game. And I don't mind if you deviate a little bit, but this was like, I'm like, dude, you took one of my favorite characters and made him not who I wanted him to be. Because if you really...
That's fair.
If you go play the game and then go watch who Bill is in the show, yes, they try to make Bill like a little negative Nancy, but he's not, because most of the time he's with Frank in the show, whereas in the game, you never see him with, I don't even know if his name's Frank. I think it is.
It is.
But
it is. Yeah.
Okay. You never see him with Frank. It's implied that they had some type of relationship. And then again, the part I'm going to talk about in a second is spoilers for the game and for the show. But like, my issue was I felt like Bill wasn't like Bill. I felt like they changed him too much. And I was excited to see this actor play Bill, because I'm like, oh, if they nailed any character / actor to play a character, it would be
Nick Offerman was perfect. Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah.
Okay, so they didn't do Bill very well, in my opinion. The other issue I had was so you just have this episode, and it's going for a long time, and if you have never played the game, I would sit there and be like, I don't understand this at all. I don't know who Bill is. I don't know who Frank is. And how do they have anything to do with these previous people I've been watching for the last 2 episodes? So then they show you how they know each other, but they just do like one quick scene. It's like, I would have liked it if like they would have shown multiple times, like quick flashbacks, multiple times where Tess and Joel visited them. Or they met up for like a deal or an exchange or something like that. And that's where you could have saw Bill be even more rude or not likable. Because again, I don't expect him to be unlikable when he's with somebody who actually likes and loves. I'm talking about like
to see the other side of Bill that we know.
Exactly. So
I don't disagree with what you're saying. They didn't show that part of that. So I feel like they missed it there.
So let me talk about the part that redeemed itself, because again, you guys know me well enough that I'm all about twists or little subtle changes that I'm like, ooh, that's really smart. By the way,
we're gonna hit some spoilers, so if you don't want to hear it, check the timestamps.
I'm definitely gonna spoil it. So in the video game, if you explore a little bit, after you meet Bill, and Bill's a complete asshole. He doesn't like anybody. He doesn't like Ellie. He doesn't like Joel. He helps him, so he's not a completely terrible person, but he's not like a nice person. But you can tell he had like a partner, and you could tell he liked that partner. Well, if you explore, you find a letter, and in that letter, the guy just basically says, I hate your guts. You're fucking trash. I couldn't wait to get away from you. And that guy is Frank, and Frank is dead. Like
Frank killed himself.
He killed himself. He tried to
Can't you choose to give Bill the letter or not?
Yes, it's completely optional. You don't have to give Bill the letter. I, of course, choose to give Bill the letter all 7 times I played because I hate Bill. But anyways, so here's what I thought was the genius of the show. So I'm already a little upset at how they do this episode. But they then have these 2 characters, Frank and Bill, die together, which does not obviously happen in the game. They take they take their lives because Frank's about ready to die, and he wants to go. And so they pass away. Well, Joel discovers, or is it Ellie discovers a letter and gives it to Joel, and it's from Bill. And Bill is essentially, he's not as brutal, saying to Joel what Frank in the game says to Bill, and that's, I don't like you. And he just goes on. So I like that they took the twist of changing the letter, since they changed the whole episode.
That's a good catch.
But they circled back to the very end to the letter, and I was like, all right, that's where you got me. So you had lost me for a little while, and I was like, no, I don't know if I like this, but I know it's a super gay show, so everybody in media outlets is going to love it, but then you're going to have the white heterosexual males that complain. That's me. But I liked it towards the end when they brought the letter in. I was like, that's a nice tie to the game while still making a change that's relevant to the show. So I personally ended up liking the show, but I really liked it more because of the letter.
I can't say that I was bothered by the stuff you're bothered by, but I understand what you're saying. Like as a huge mega fan of the game, like I know that you are, I get what you're saying. We didn't get to see the side of Bill that the game shows us. But I do think it was cool. Like you just mentioned a few of the things they tied back in. They also, his final scenes when he's as old as he could be, they make him look a lot like Bill from the game. I don't know if you noticed that. Like even the jacket he's wearing, the way his hair is done with his beard, like that's about as close as they make him look to the Bill that I remember from the game too. So I thought that was kind of a nice touch too, to make him look like the Bill for the most part, close enough to the Bill from the game too. But
it was such a change because, like, I don't know if you guys felt this way, but the whole time I'm watching, I'm like waiting for like Bill and Frank to hate each other, and then as I'm like an hour in, I'm like, oh, they're doing like a legit gay happy love story.
So I want to get Jeff's thoughts on this too, but I actually thought that the way it would end was that he would refuse to kill Frank, and that would be what split them. Because I was actually thinking the same thing you were, in a way, just maybe a little differently. I was thinking as Frank was dying and was like, I want to go out on my own terms. This is how I want my last day to be. That Bill wouldn't do it, and then that would cause Frank to write him something similar and kill himself, and that would turn Bill into the curmudgeon that we all know. That would kind of like break him. Yeah. I was kind of expecting that, and I'm not saying that would have been better, but that's kind of what I was expecting, and it didn't go that way. And I thought kind of the Romeo and Juliet element at the end, like it still worked, and I thought the final scene of them not showing you the bodies but going into the bedroom with the window open, I just thought it was all well done, and the song they used for it that kind of had a recurring theme. So I still liked the way they did it.
That song's from Arrival. I don't know if you've seen that movie.
I have. I didn't recognize it from that, but I have.
It's at the end of the movie where like you see like Amy Adams' choices come together and converge and stuff like that, and it's like. So I've heard that song so many times, dude. It's not that song. I didn't think about that one. Sorry, I was thinking of the one that kicks in. It's really somber when they're having their last day together and.
Got it.
Yeah. I didn't even think about the Linda Ronstadt song. My bad. Whoops. No shade.
The episode's called Long, Long Time, right? I was thinking you were talking about that one.
No, I totally spaced on that song existing in the show.
Yeah, because by the way, I thought Nick Offerman, when he sat there at the piano and kind of sang it like kind of pitchy and raw and just kind of like the way he was singing it, like he was clearly in pain. I just thought that alone was like, dude, this guy's pouring into this role. So I loved that. I thought he really gave it his all. So anyway, I really did think, Derek, and I was with you, I really did think at the end they were setting us up for heartbreak because it was a very sweet love story between these two people and their bond together for what it was like 20 years, I guess, right? However long it was.
They were together for a long time.
And so like I thought it would be a more tragic ending that would end with Bill still being there and us getting some of those what I thought were classic Ellie and Bill interactions in the game.
That I will miss because I like that.
But we didn't get that. We got something different. And would that, like, no one asked me, no one asked my opinion. I probably would have pushed to do it a little differently, but I still thought it was very, very good. I thought it was excellent.
To me, before Jeff shares his, I just want to say one last thing. To me, if you're looking for, and I know they announced that they were going to make changes, so you should have like at least the desire, or not desire, the understanding that there are going to be changes. But for me, like, if you are coming into this wanting it to stick pretty close to the game and then making just small minor changes, I could totally see you hating this episode.
Yeah,
because it does veer way too much. And that's where I was going. I ended up liking it because I liked the way they reversed it, but brought it back. Yeah. But for me, they changed it a lot. And I've been very open to the changes so far. And then this one, I was like, I don't know. And again, a lot of people would jump to the conclusion, you have a problem with the game episode. It wasn't that. It was the way you're like, to me, changing. It felt like you're changing the character.
People assume that because that was the centerpiece, was this connection, this bond between these two guys. But anyone who played the game already knows that existed between these two guys. So that wasn't a surprise
unless you don't
at
pay
all.
Attention. I mean, if you didn't pay
attention. If you played it 7 times, you clearly know that things happened. But anyway.
He was doing a little bit of this.
Oh, all good right. Lord. Really?
All right.
Really?
All right. There's only one. Go ahead, Jeff.
Great, I got to follow that. That's awesome.
No,
all right, can you not?
Derek, stop.
That's why he had so many shotguns.
I saw a lot of glimpses of the Bill from the game in the show, but it just
didn't hit
halfway through the episode is when he started to get more, tender and whatnot. But yeah, and like the beginning, like he has a gun at the dinner table when he meets Joel and Tess. I thought that was hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
His first line is he's sitting in his bunker and they're all searching for him and he's like, "Not today, you jackboot effers," or whatever. Yeah. Like right away, I was like, "There he is. There he is."
And he's just having the time of his life by himself. Like he's just I Am Legending it basically, and just owning everything in the town.
Oh, did you guys like too when Frank was like calling him out on all of his like paranoid propagandist views, and he's like, "And you think the government's Nazis?" He goes, "The government are Nazis," and he's like, "Well, they weren't before." I just thought that was a fun really funny, exchange. Yeah, I like that.
Because
by the way,
it's Phaedra, because they are now. Yeah, absolutely.
I will say this, and I don't know if Frank in real life is gay, like the guy who played him, but that guy did a good job. He did a really good job.
He's awesome. He was in White Lotus and stuff, and
everyone's talking about Nick Offerman, who's totally deserving that praise, but they both did a great job.
They both
had chemistry.
They had great chemistry, and I was kind of
like they really actually liked each other.
Like I actually believed it, and that's sorry, Jeff, but I just wanted to throw that in there too. Like that is what to me made the episode work so well. Is I believed the characters, and that's what made it work. So,
I totally agree. Yeah. I have a hard time saying whether it was. There are some people that are like, well, what they did in the show is better than the game, and I can't say that flat out. But I do agree with the sentiment that this is one of the best television episodes I've seen. at least in a very, very long time.
Right.
Just from start to finish. I just love those singular episodes that are
done.
beginning, middle, and end, and when they do it well. Because some shows try it and it just totally flops, and you're like, what the hell were they doing? Like,
well, they didn't do what you described with the M. Night movie, where it was like, let me make sure that I hit you over the head with all the nuance I'm trying to communicate here. Like, they allowed things to kind of sit and allowed you, the viewer, to figure it out.
Right.
So.
Yeah, when Bill drinks the wine glass, like, and he chugs it similar to how Frank does, and Frank pieces it together right there. If it were any other writers, they would have it. Yes, I put pills in this too, just like the pills you drank. Like they would be more explicit about it. But it was just kind of like, it was a little more. I don't know. They were just a little more smart about the changes, I think. But yeah, on a personal note, this happened at a very raw moment for me because I'm trying to remember the exact number of hours. A little more than 12 hours before that, I had to put my dog down, and then I get to this episode of Last of Us, and they're talking about like mercy killing.
Yeah.
And like, dude, that hit really hard at that time. Like I was incredibly moved by that, seeing that. And I know it's different, it's a human or whatever, and that's, the stakes are way different.
Yeah, but the emotion is the same.
Yeah. And then the cherry on top was Bill saying, "You were my purpose," and stuff, and like, Jesus, man.
Yeah. That was good. That was well delivered.
Great story. Just such a good, like, just, I can't believe this is television, dude. And what is it about HBO that they have to have a monopoly on sadness on Sundays? Because Euphoria was like this, and like Barry has some really disturbing stuff, and like,
well, even with Game of Thrones, they would have all kinds of tragic things every week.
Yeah, it's like, what the hell, guys?
Can I just say, Jeff, that I'm glad that you didn't do what Bill did when you went to the vet with your dog. Like, I'm glad that you didn't also say like, and the shot for me too, please. Like,
me too now.
Please don't. Yeah,
I know. That was that was a rough day for me.
You know, I think that Derek, I think you're spot on from here's the original source material viewpoint. People who read books that are adapted, same thing, and people who play video games, that this is a rare occasion where it's being adapted masterfully. But I can understand where you're like, that's not how I wanted them to do it.
Bro, if this was Star Wars, there would be outrage.
You mean as far as like missing, or there isn't like a original
changing anything like this, like people would be freaking out.
If they were adapting,
they were. Were you absent for Last Jedi? They were.
Yeah, people were pretty upset.
That's what I'm saying. That's my point. You literally missed my point.
Where they changed the character
if this was Star Wars, people would be freaking out.
No, your complaints are
they freak out about little shit now too, though. So I mean, they're one of the pettiest fan bases on the planet.
Your criticism of it is in that same bucket where it's like, hey, you took a character that I thought I knew really well, and you really made them something kind of different in this adaptation. So I understand. I understand that.
There were some people that were like, I think Fab said it, who was like, I just wanted Bill to interact with Ellie and stuff like that. Like, yeah, and I get that.
That's fair. Yeah.
But now we got both things, and I don't know. I like seeing both
honestly, things. I like Bill. I'm not gonna. Yeah. I said that earlier, but in the grand scheme of this, it's not grand scheme of the games, and I'm talking now both games. He's not that significant. So he's a significant character because we all know who he is, but his story being changed does not impact the overall story and narrative of the Last of Us games.
In the game, his story ends when you guys drive away. It's just in a different ending.
This is just different. It's just changing the tone of a relationship in a game that ended terribly, and the character was around a little bit longer to interact with you, the player. Whereas in the show, they're like, no, we want to tell a different story. But again, it doesn't change the narrative of the actual overall. The last.
I wouldn't be surprised if at some point they do try to include some sort of high school scene, because that is just a setting that is so cool in an apocalyptic kind of zombie setting. So I wouldn't be surprised, because even though
I don't think we're done with flashbacks like that. Yeah.
Even though in the game we already saw like that would have happened with Bill, right? The whole high school scene, because Bill was there for that. But in the show, we're already past Bill. I wouldn't be surprised though if they do circle back to some sort of high school gym fight scene of some kind.
Yeah, with the bloater or something.
Yeah,
they're definitely saving their bloater load for like a better term.
Bloater load.
Because they did show a bloater in the teaser at a few trailers. So like, yes, it's happening. Is the next episode the he's not hurt? Is that what?
Yes.
Okay. I can't wait for that, dude.
With the big kind of like car crashing through the buildings and then them escaping and like.
Right. Yeah.
It's very
really
intense. Very quick.
You know what? I do love that the things that they're changing fit the pacing of a TV show, because when you're in a video game and you have these moments, these big character moments with like side characters and stuff, like with Tess and with Bill, they're spaced in between maybe a few hours of gameplay. Like, okay, I'm gonna go travel through. I'm gonna go, scrap whatever I can to make a weapon. I'm gonna. You're constantly doing other stuff. Whereas for a TV show, it's kind of like, it's just an impossible task. I don't envy their position at all. And I think they're doing really well so far.
Yeah. I do wonder if there was a draft of their script where it didn't have such a happy, quote unquote, happy romantic ending to their story. There was more of a split that ended more like the game, where now we do interact with a harsher Bill. But I understand why they did what they did. And it made for kind of a clean beginning, middle, end of the story of those characters, and like just kind of gave us something unique. It was very unique. Like,
actually, someone brought up a good point to me. He's a little more woke than I am, to a point where I'm like, all right, dude, come on, let's settle down. But he brought up a good point that this story, or this, at least the dynamic that they told in the show, where Bill finds Frank in a hole, would not work with two. I mean, I guess it would kind of work with two women. But it wouldn't work with a man and a woman couple, like the same. Like if it was a man with a gun, that'd be freaking weird, and the power dynamic would be weird. And if it were a woman, it'd just be like unbelievable that she suddenly wanted to do him. Like it just,
interesting.
Weird.
Yeah.
So like he brought up a good point that it kind of works best the way that they told it.
Well, I mean, they told us
if you had to tell it that way.
We haven't really seen a story like that before, at least not in that setting, right? Yeah. So I get it.
It's certainly setting itself apart from Walking Dead, because that's always in the back of my mind when I'm watching a show like this.
Me too.
Like, Walking Dead did a lot of this already, didn't they? Like, I mean, I'm kind of like thinking that, as I'm watching it, but th're really setting themselves apart from that.
One thing my takeaway from this, whether or not everyone thought the episode was the best thing ever, or just I didn't think it was the best thing ever, but I did like it a lot. And I think it's deserving of all the praise it's getting, and it's deserving of some of the things Derek's pointing out too, from a major fan of the game. I get that too. But to me, it just reinforces yet again, like, this show is getting so much like care as it's being put together and created. It's so high quality.
There were
even if we don't love the direction they take every character in the story, I get that.
Yeah, but there's no, eventually for me and for like people like Kyle and stuff, eventually they're going to do a change that we're not going to be on board with, and we're going to have to just come to terms with it.
Exactly.
But I will say that there was God dang it, there was something on the tip of my tongue, and now I can't remember what it was. It was related to the show, I promise.
Yeah, I just love how much quality is being poured into this, and I'm just thrilled to see it.
That's what it was about. So when Craig Mazin, one of the showrunners and main writers, he helped adapt it to television with Neil. He was in the interviews in the press. He was talking about this is one of the best video game adaptations ever made, if not the best. And people were like immediately, like, at least in our group, they were just immediately like, well, I hope it flops now that you said that, because I hate when people say stuff like that. And I get
it's why people get mad at James Cameron, right? You hate James Cameron for saying that stuff.
I know. I'm like, dude, shut up and just let people watch your movie.
Yeah, but James Cameron keeps talking.
But at this point, it's true. Right. He does keep talking, and I'm like, dude, you got nominated for an Oscar. You can stop doing interviews now. Stop, please stop. But with this show, I'm kind of like, well, it turns out he was right. Like, well, crap. Whoops. I guess we can't really bash him for
that. I'm not. I think it's gonna end up being really, really good. I'm not ready to crown it that way, but that's because it's like, look, I like the show. I do wish there was a little bit more. I think they're leaving stuff out, but I'm gonna wait to judge it until everything comes out. Like, I think this third episode, like, you guys really like it. I thought it was okay. Like I said, if you don't tie it back the way I like the way they tied it back at the end, if you don't do that, I'd probably say I don't like that show. But here's why I'm not going to overly criticize it, is because I think it's actually a good connecting show to what I think the tone of the 4th episode is going to be.
Yeah.
So again, you've got to really judge shows based off everything.
Whole season and the whole series, yeah.
People that review each episode one by one, I'm not saying you can't do that, but it's kind of stupid because you're taking the tone out of context.
Yeah, if you were binging this, you would have jumped right into what looks like to be an action-packed.
I tried doing the reviewing when I was writing reviews for a brief period of time. I tried reviewing an episode of a thing and then moving on. And by episode 5, I was like, dude, I am burnt out. I can't say the same thoughts every week. This is obnoxious. So I do wish people would just wait until the season ends and then be like, here's our actual, like with Andor, like when it's like a big staple show like that, people like IGN or whoever feel the need to review every single episode. I'm like, can you just chill or just have a podcast or something about it? Like, it just stop.
Yeah, I would rather you just have a conversation.
Derek,
about
can you think of a video game adaptation, TV or movie that you think you might like better than this? We'll have to wait and see, because I can't think of one that's
other than Arcane. I mean, that's the only other thing that comes close for me.
Yeah, Arcane is top notch to me.
I guess I keep forgetting that was based on a video game, because I didn't.
But I should say Arcane is great because I never played the game. So
exactly, dude. Yeah.
My perspective's different though.
Yeah.
And that's why, like, I'm actually giving me props. I don't care if you guys agree. That I'm not freaking out and being like, dude, they changed everything. This is stupid. I don't like the tone. I'm
kind of surprised, honestly. Yeah, I really did.
Because I'm giving it a chance. But overall, I think it's a really, really high. Like, this is like the level of quality. I'm just judging it on objective quality. Is ridiculously high.
Yeah.
And I can see the potential of them telling, even if they make changes I don't like, an amazing story.
We didn't even talk about the creepy Ellie moment where she slices open a bit of that thing's skin and then stabs it in the head.
That was very tense. I was like waiting for something terrible to happen.
But it was
I'm glad that they subverted that trope, because that is a trope in horror movies where somebody disappears in a cellar and it's like a help and they're screaming, and they didn't do that. And I give them so much props for avoiding that.
That gave us a little. I like that because it gives viewers, especially non-gaming viewers, a little glimpse into, hey, Ellie's got some darkness in her, man. And
she does.
And that was just a little.
And if something traumatic again happens to her because she lost her best friend / girlfriend, whatever.
Yep.
You know, just look out. I'm just saying, Abby, keep your distance. I'm just saying. Yeah. And also, I loved her reading the letter, and the way that she read had me dying.
That was good.
And especially because I heard Nick Offerman giggle.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. Like, I just heard his giggle as that laugh. And
All right. Well, Last of Us Episode 3 continues the high quality of that show so far. I'm loving it. Can't wait. We'll get Episode 4 here in about 48 hours. Or less than that, actually, now 36 hours. So very excited for that. All right, some headlines here that before we wrap up this episode. Redfall. This is a questionable decision by Bethesda / Microsoft. I don't know who made this call, but requires an online connection all the time, even in single player. What do you guys think?
I don't have an issue with that. Like, almost every game does that now. I don't have an issue.
Like, you can't even play offline. Like, you can play offline most games. If your internet goes down, you can play.
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure Division 2 you can play offline, because it just tells you, oh, you've been booted from the server, and then it puts you in your own, right? Is that right?
If you're playing a single player game, you should not have to. I mean, maybe for like a handshake every certain number of hours to make sure you really own the game or whatever. I get that.
There's certain games that I can't access, and they're not just multiplayer. If there's no network.
Well, some of that's with game sharing. I have that issue with game sharing too. But like outside of that, very few single player games that just won't.
Yeah,
work.
it's rare, so it's a weird choice.
I know this was like a big issue when the Xbox One released, where it was like the constant checking, and then people realized that we're literally doing that and nobody cares. So I'm just saying, I don't personally think it's a big deal. I just
don't think that many single player games do it.
I have a feeling this has to do with like more than just hey, this is a co-op game. Yeah, they want a co-op experience, but there might be other reasons why they need you connected to the server, even in single player experience.
Maybe.
Yeah.
So
I thought it was just a DRM thing, like a game.
I don't think so.
Ownership.
I don't really think they care
I think
about that,
one of the comments I saw on Reddit that was like, what's the point of DRM then? Because apparently if you're offline, that's when DRM matters the most.
Right. That's what it's
right?
supposed to, yeah. Yes.
So
Yes.
what's the point of that? So yeah, I don't.
I'm not sure. And
people are bringing up great points. Like I'm like kind of like Derek. I'm just like, yeah, other games already kind of. They're a small handful, but some other games do already kind of require this that are single player. But that's because they are also.
I actually can't think of any that are single player. That
I might be mistaken. Division
online.
2 might have. Whenever it kicked me out of the server, I think I just ended up being screwed.
Okay.
I can't remember now. But I'm not 100% too mad at it, especially because we know almost everybody has internet. So like,
Dad, I think that's the other logic we could use is you don't make this decision if the world can't handle it. So you want everybody to play the game.
It's not like this is not related to games. It's not like Netflix when they said to curb password sharing, you might not be able to use it outside of your home. Yeah, and then they were like, "Well,
stupid.
Just kidding. Sorry, guys. Like, we didn't know you would be so mad about that." So, like,
this is a thing that
like that to me.
This is a thing where these details leaked out, and then Bethesda got asked about it so many times they just confirmed it. Like, yes, you do have to be online. But this was not. It's not like a feature that they're bragging about. Like, they just confirmed it. So. Yeah. The Pathless, which I know Jeff and I both liked that game. We didn't love it. We both liked it. That's hitting the Switch
I only did
as
the
well
first
as
boss fight, and that was really cool.
Oh, it actually just hit Switch and Xbox this past week, so it's available now on those systems. If you haven't played it on PC or PS4 or 5, I guess I would recommend it on the Xbox. I'm not saying it can't run well on Switch. The art design does lend itself to maybe running fine. Yeah. But it's gonna be best on the most modern console you got. It's good. Mm-hmm. It's a good game.
I agree with that.
Potentially a new direct coming, although I would be shocked if it's on Monday because they would have announced it by now if it was coming Monday. But I wouldn't be surprised if there's one this coming week, right? Like maybe Tuesday.
Yeah, somebody at Giant Bomb was like, "Oh, it's coming the week of February 6th, whatever day they decide."
Oh, the week of February 6th, not on February 6th. Oh, okay.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, so they might announce like February 6th. Hey,
it's coming
Thursday
on Tuesday
or whatever.
Thursday.
Yeah, don't they usually do them like Wednesdays or Thursdays?
Yeah, they do them right in the middle of the week usually.
We'll see. It might not be a big deal if it is going to happen. It might not be like one you should expect something huge.
Yeah, it could be like
is anything coming out soon?
Just Zelda, right? I mean,
yeah, but we haven't heard anything. Yeah, they've
Zelda. They've got
Kirby.
A
little nervous that Kyle's right.
They do have the Kirby Deluxe. It's like a remake, right, of the Wii.
Yeah, but they're considering it a pretty big release, I think.
They're hyping it up.
It's a remake. Let's see.
And then Fire Emblem Engage DLC, they got that.
Yep.
But yeah, Zelda, I think they're going to do a separate solo direct for that. They're not going to be like, here are some other games. They're going to be like, here's all of Zelda.
I would think it would be all about Zelda.
Yeah. Kind of like they did with Splatoon, and we're all like, no.
Several smaller games and ports that I won't read out. Oh, in March, they've got the Bayonetta Origins game.
That's
Cereza and the Lost Demon.
Still need
Oni. Yeah, I have nothing but indies. Oh, Octopath Traveler 2.
Both Remnant and Have a Nice Death hit the Switch in March.
Have a Nice Death is great. Game of the year right there. That's a Tryhard Game of the Year. It's a good game, though. It is really good.
April, I don't see a lot for them yet.
So nothing huge outside of like just Zelda, but that's still like allegedly 3 months away. Where's Kyle to confirm its delay? But
Yeah.
Still waiting on him. And then in July is when they're supposed to get their port of Hogwarts Legacy. It's the only other
Honestly,
oh my God. That's getting delayed into eternity, dude.
Unless they were gonna release like a Switch Pro or something, I don't see Zelda coming out in May. It's probably a holiday game.
I really think the developer is like, let's just push it past this quarter or this fiscal year, and then see what Nintendo announces.
Yeah.
And if they don't announce new hardware, then we're just not going to release it.
Well, and this is us trying to carry on the spirit of our Delazar, who's not with us tonight. So we're trying to.
Kyle, just so you know, if you do listen to this show, I am saying that Zelda is going to get delayed till November of 2023, and it'll release the same day as Dragon Age's new game.
Oh man, bold.
Oh, that is 2023.
That's more in the stupid category than bold, but well, that's fine. All right. So,
I just wanted to trigger Kyle.
At some point.
Also, Star Wars sucks, Kyle. Just wanted to let you know that.
Yeah.
According to Bloomberg, Sony was aiming to ship 2 million units of PSVR 2, but
to all
since
the millionaires that were able to
their pre-order figures have really not done well. Like it's pretty easy to go pre-order one right now if you're still interested. Like they're very available to pre-order right now. They've now halved that expectation. They're expecting maybe 1 million for the quarter.
See, here's my here's how I know something's going to be successful or not. I only need to pull one person, and that's me. If I don't pre-order it, you're not going to be successful.
We're talking to a guy that got an 8K television when a quarter of the industry is like on 8K.
It's one of those polls that'll say like 1 out of 1 Derek says this, and at the bottom that'll say like 1 Derek
he will get everything
for this.
But he's not getting.
Did you buy it, Derek? No, then it's a fail.
Yeah. So there you go. VR2. I'm not saying it's not going to be great tech. I fully believe it would be fantastic technology, but it is nowhere near a price range that has my interest. It just isn't.
Same.
That's honestly what's holding me back, because I actually watched IGN's video on Gran Turismo 7, and I was like, and then Dell was advertising $100 off their Thrustmaster. That sounds dirty. Like steering wheel, whatever. And I was like, dude,
yeah.
I could buy that and the VR headset, hook it up. That would be better. And I was like, wait, that's $1,000.
Yeah.
That's
some major PC or monitor upgrading there. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's one of those things where like I remember splurging a while back to get the PSVR, and it was fun. It was like a cool kind of gimmicky thing that had its merits. Like there were some game experiences that were fun, but it quickly got shelved, and then more and more rarely got pulled off the shelf until eventually I just boxed it up so it wouldn't keep getting too dusty. So it's still boxed up now. Like I
still have mine, but I have to say, like my Oculus have not been a waste of money. I enjoy them. But the PSVR was probably one of the worst things I ever bought. One of the worst things I ever bought.
I got to play 2 games on it that I couldn't play anywhere else that I friggin' loved. It was the Astrobot Rescue Mission, right? Was the VR one? Or was that the second one? Anyway, whatever the first Astrobot thing, and then Moss, that book
Heard
one.
Great things about that, yeah.
So fun. Loved both. And of course, Beat Saber, which I know is not just PSVR, it's everywhere, but like Beat Saber, so cool. Love that game, is so awesome. But so there were some cool experiences, but was it worth all the money I spent? And I know I got a deal on it. I forget how much I spent on it, but no, it wasn't worth the money I spent, to be honest. So there's no way I'm going for the second one. That's just not.
Every single time I bring up like, and I'm not saying I'm always right, obviously, but every single time I bring up like that VR is for a very niche audience or it's a fad or something, anytime I say anything like that, I get pushback. Like not here, but it just in general. And I'm like, guys, it's. I mean, the writing's on the wall, man. Like
it's definitely a niche audience. I don't know if it's a fad, because I think there's always gonna be some element of VR that's around. But I do think you're right about it being niche. Like it's certainly not for everybody.
It's kind of like 3D TVs nowadays.
Yeah, until it gets to a place where the tech is completely wireless while also being cheap, you're not gonna see this blow up.
And it's gonna be impossible for it to stay cheap.
Yes,
if tech is that good.
It's just like a lot of the good PC VR headsets are all $700 to $1,000,
right?
And they've got great tech and they've got all the bells and whistles, but it's like, dude, I'm not paying that, because most of us gamers, like I'm a busy guy. I am active. I'm not lazy. I wouldn't categorize myself as lazy, but when it comes to gaming, I want to turn off and shut down and just relax. I don't want to like be sitting up, moving and do it. Like that's not what I'm looking for. So unless you're buying, unless you're buying a VR headset for an exercise like thing, I just don't think it's going to be something that really catches on.
Yeah, and I think Kyle's been using it. I don't know if he's still using it as that, but I know he was at one point, and that was helping him at least stay in shape. Whereas I remember like every time they try this, like with the Kinect, with the Wii Fit, whatever, stuff like that. I mean, those were definitively fads because the Kinect is gone. Nobody's really doing that with Switch. I mean, I think they did release something like that's kind of compared to that for the Switch.
Yeah,
I can't remember
think
what
the
it's
last
called.
one was the Ring Fit. That
Ring
Kyle
Fit.
likes. Kyle says it's like a fun game. I think.
I played a good amount of Ring Fit. That game's fun. That game's a good time.
Do you get a good workout though?
Oh yeah, like if you actually play it the way they're telling you to. Like there's ways you can do the movement
there's half-assed
with the
ways to do
controllers.
everything in those games.
Yes, but if you actually like play it the way they intend, like for example, like you have the there's like this Velcro strap that goes around one of your legs, and like the lifting motion of your leg is really just taking the controller and just like turning it side, like kind of lifting it like this. So you could get away with not actually running and all that
It's kind
stuff.
of like when you
I
play
did
Nintendo,
it for real, and I was sweating, man. Like during the boss battle, like I was sweating. So
I remember like playing Nintendo Switch Sports, and if you guys saw me play that, you'd be like, dude, you're not even doing. Like when I golf, I'm just
Nintendo Switch sit.
Just one arm, just don't care.
Yep. I get you. So we'll see what happens with VR2. Sadly, I don't think any of us on the show will be giving you our impressions anytime soon. But we'll be.
I haven't pulled it out yet, but I have to do further research, and I have.
If any of us do, it's going to be you.
It is going to be me.
Yeah.
But my joke was more like, if I don't buy it right away, you're probably not looking at good results.
Yeah. My advice to you is don't do it. But for the sake of the show, maybe do it.
Don't do it.
PS Plus games have been officially announced. They were leaked earlier, but then kind of officially confirmed that it's going to be Ollie Ollie World, Mafia Definitive Edition, Evil Dead the Game, and Destiny 2 Beyond Light are all coming to PS Plus for this month.
I think Beyond Light might have been one of the last ones I played, and then the one after that, the last expansion I played.
Oh, okay.
That was a lot of fun.
Beyond Light was like my favorite.
Yeah, Beyond Light was good. Dude, Mafia is such a good game. The Definitive Edition.
That was in my because it was a full-blown remake, and they titled it Definitive Edition for some reason. You should have called it Mafia Remake, but okay.
Yeah, so good.
It ended up in my top 5 that year. That game just blew me away, and I'd never played it before, so that's probably why. But
I love that. I like that whole series, man. Like all 3 of those games, I think are a blast.
I still have to play the other ones, honestly.
Mafia 3 got way too much hate.
It did. It was again one of those things where some people had. We talked about
Gotham Knights treatment.
Like, it's the Gotham Knights thing. It's even Forspoken to some extent, where it's like, all right, it's not a 4 out of 10. Like, relax a little bit. Like, and Mafia 3 got a lot of that type of treatment. It really did.
I don't know. It's just so weird. It's all in how games preview. It's almost like bullying. They just pick a game. They're like, you know what? We don't like you. You're ugly.
Yeah. I know. It's crazy. But then something with like
every quarter they pick a new thing to pick on.
Some little indie darling that has nowhere near the production value of those big games gets 9 out of 10. Good. So that's where the scoring system becomes very weird to me.
I just feel so much when I play that game.
Journey, the multiplayer Journey that you don't know if there's actually a player there, but I think they're there, so it's just so amazing. Amazing. I literally cried.
The PC port for The Last of Us Part 1 has been delayed to the end of March instead of beginning of March, which should hit right as the show's wrapping up, I think.
Actually, yeah, that's like a week after the finale, apparently. Yeah, that's actually
I did pre-order that. I don't know why, with all the games that are coming out, I don't need to own that game for the 9th time again, but I don't care.
Why not?
I mean, it's The Last of Us.
Yeah, and you know what? I haven't gotten the Part 1 like at all on PS5, and I will for PC. I would own that on PC for sure.
Yep. Another delay, and not a super long delay. This was expected in March. Now it's the end of April, and that's Star Wars Jedi Survivor. It's been pushed back. They did release a statement that pretty much said what you would expect. They want to achieve a level of polish that our fans deserve. So,
I think that for us personally, I'm just speaking for our group, for the podcast. That's a good pushback. Just like the amount of games in February and March.
Room.
Yeah.
Some of these games are going to get hurt by not being that they're bad. It's just going to be like, for instance, we use Bayonetta 3 as a great example. Guaranteed, if one of us would just sit down and play the damn game, we'd be like, wow, that's really good. But none of us will do it because we're like, I don't want to.
You're right. But we all own it, but none of us will.
New games keep coming out now.
Well, we all bought it, but it's just
to be fair, I literally rushed through Bayonetta and Bayonetta 2 to be relevant for Bayonetta 3, and then Bayonetta came out. I'm like, I don't want to play any more Bayonetta. I need a break.
Now, it's almost like you're burnt out a little bit.
If Jedi Survivor actually releases on April 28th and doesn't get bumped back again, and if somehow Tears of the Kingdom actually lands on May, 12th?
Yeah.
Date, then that gives me 2 weeks to finish Jedi Survivor, because when the new Zelda comes out, I'm dropping everything else to play it. That's just the way it's going to be. Like, I'm just going to...
they're going to announce Horizon's coming out May 12th. Horizon Forbidden West 3. That's coming out May 12th.
Okay, good. Yeah. Doesn't their DLC come out in the spring?
There's DLC coming
April.
in April, yes.
April 19th, I think.
They're gonna bump it back to May 11th, and
DLC
everyone's gonna
is
play it for
coming
one day.
a week before Jedi Survivor. Yes.
Which, by the way, I wanna give, because before we started recording this podcast, that's what I was playing. Is I'm continuing my second playthrough of Horizon Forbidden West. And I want to give a shout out to that game because, when Dan was like, I think it's the prettiest game, I was like, no, dude, God of War, all these other games, way better looking. And now I'm playing and I'm going, after they patched it and you got it running at 4K, like native 4K,
gorgeous, man,
at 40 to 60 frames per second, I'm like, you know what, Dan? I don't like you still, and I've fired you, and I'm sticking to that.
Fired, yeah.
But I'm gonna agree with you. This game might be one of the best looking games of 2022. Like maybe even number one.
Yeah,
I don't know about that part.
Oh. I mean, you got to remember it's open world. That's what I'm also comparing.
You're several weeks too late with that opinion, but whatever, it's fine.
I still said.
I will say about Survivor, when I read the delay time frame, I was like, oh, they sound really close to done, because if this was a real concern for them, they would have been like, no, 3 months.
It sounds like they're squashing bugs.
But it's just a month and a half. Yeah,
it sounds like they're squashing bugs and polishing it up, and that's good.
Yeah,
that's good.
It also could be, I do believe it's that, but it also could really be like, dude, February and March are loaded.
We're gonna get buried like Forbidden West. Yeah,
they're move it back a little bit.
Yeah, could be. The third Crew game has been announced. It's set for release sometime this year, but Ubisoft announced the Crew, which is not called the Crew 3. They're calling it the Crew Motorfest.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that was the third one. I thought it was just like an expansion for the second one.
Yeah, it's officially the third major, the Crew. They still could make the Crew 3, but this one's called the Crew Motorfest.
Put a 3 where the E is.
That's so correct. That's so clever.
I played the Crew and I liked it. I didn't play beat it.
I remember how overhyped that game was, though. It was so overhyped.
And it got shitted on when it launched. People were like, "This drives terribly." I'm like, "It's an RPG," and it is. If you play the first one, I don't know about the second one. The first one's an RPG. It's all about upgrading everything because you're terrible. Your car handles terrible. But I actually downloaded the second one because I'm like, well, I should just try it because I did like the first one, and I think the second one's supposed to be better. But no, I never really connected with the Crew. I've noticed that I'm getting away from Ubisoft stuff. I don't really like their stuff anymore.
Well, what if I told you they're making another Far Cry? Because that's totally happening.
6 is the first one I haven't beat since 3. So
well, that's
3,
a shame.
4,
Get ready
5,
for another one.
And then the other ones. So
I
like the last
6,
4 or 5.
It is a lot of the same, but I liked it.
I've tried. I've gone back to it multiple times because I'm like, you got to beat it. You beat the last 5 Far Cries, and I'm like, no, I can't. I don't want to.
I haven't beaten a single one yet. I'm kind of like an odd duck in that regard.
I've noticed people are falling off Assassin's Creed too. I think most people that beat all the Assassin's Creed didn't beat Valhalla. I did. I still love Assassin's Creed, but every other Ubisoft game, I'm not really feeling it.
I think people love Origins almost universally.
Uh-huh.
Odyssey, I think, less than universally, but still generally really.
I don't know. I
feel like
a lot of people like. I think a lot of people liked Odyssey more than Origins.
I like it more, but I think a lot of people out there are like, oh, it's just too much. Like, I've heard a lot. It's criticized.
It is a lot.
It's criticized more than Origins, but then Valhalla, I think, just really didn't click with most people that I talked to. Like, they liked it, but no one really loved Valhalla. I think
I loved it.
So
I mean, my favorite.
I really liked it a lot too. It made some weird changes, but anyway, we don't have to get into that. Ubisoft is in a weird place right now. It'd be interesting to see what they deliver on, especially with their new Assassin's Creed stuff. Like, is that going back to the drawing board? Is it just more what we've had in the last 5 years or so? It'll be interesting to see. Amazon has said they reportedly want to turn the Tomb Raider show. We talked about how they're making a Tomb Raider show. They want to turn it into a Marvel-like franchise to interconnect game, film, and TV releases, including things like same actors voicing characters in the games and stuff like that.
James Gunn said the same thing about DC, and I'm like, good freaking luck, dude. Like, because Marvel could not figure out the TV and movie thing for years because it's so difficult to film a show. Like, shows film faster than movies. They're in post-production faster, and like there's just so many elements. So just imagine the development cycle of a game, and that's just going to be so impossible, dude. I mean,
also
they're going to try. I don't doubt they're going to try. But
to say I want to turn something into a Marvel-like franchise, my thought goes to dozens of characters with their own spin-offs and their own storylines that are all going to culminate in every once in a while in these big moments.
That's why I gave
Tomb
that
Raider?
face while you read it. And like,
yeah, it doesn't make sense.
So the only thing that makes sense
you're just gonna have
is
a Lara Croft show, Lara
and
Croft
movie
movie,
and
and
game.
a Lara Croft.
Okay, just say
video
that.
game. Got
But
it.
say
Just say
that
that,
Marvel-like is.
Wait, you already did that.
And then you know what?
got it.
The reception that I saw online when this headline was going around was, oh, so they're gonna make really dumb. Oh, he's right behind me, isn't he? Jokes like, and, like I don't think that's what they meant, dude. But okay, point taken.
Yeah, the Joss Whedon jokes. It's so funny. Dude, there is a Game Informer deep dive on RE4 Remake, and it, from what I've read, just a summary of it sounds so freaking cool. I wanted to highlight a couple things. They're adding side quests, which you can find these blue flyers that are posted around each area. They're going to try to remove a lot of the QuickTime events, and that way you still have the ability, for example, instead of just mashing the X button, you can still try to block or parry with your knife, which, by the way, your knife can break and you have to get a new one or get it fixed or whatever. But the idea was to get rid of some of the QTEs and make it more kind of action focused. They're adding a crossbow, which kind of is a stealth weapon you can use, and also you can go recollect whatever arrows or bolts that you fire from them to fire them again, which I think was kind of cool.
Yeah.
They also revamped the way that Ashley works. So a lot of times people would tell her to just kind of stay in the corner and wait and just leave her there while you go do everything and then come back and get her. But now you can either have her follow you closely or farther behind. But either way, she's going to be following you, which is a little more realistic. She'll actually stay nearby. And she'll no longer have a health bar. There used to be a health bar, and once it's gone, she's dead. Now it's more like as she gets attacked, she'll enter a downed state, which you have a chance to go quickly revive her before she gets hit again. Otherwise, then she's dead. So they're just kind of changing the way that your interactions with Ashley works, and same with like some puzzles. There are going to be some more two-person puzzles where she can actually be useful to you throughout the game. So
yeah, I hope they add some depth to all that, like with not only gameplay, which it sounds like they're doing, but like just her story, who she is, and all that stuff. Like less annoying.
Yeah, I'm really excited for this game. I can't wait to see what they did with RE4.
Did you play Dead Space?
Not yet. I don't own it. I got to use my money wisely here.
Well, I was going to tell you, are you interested in Wild Hearts?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so what you should do is just order the EA Play Pro, which is $15. Just pay $15 once.
Get access to both. Kind of like Ubisoft does.
Yes, and then you can play both games the full game.
Yeah, and then turn it off when I'm done. That's a good point.
And I think you'll enjoy Dead Space.
Yeah. Speaking of EA, they canceled a single-player game that was codenamed Titanfall Legends, which is sad to learn about because I thought Titanfall 2's campaign was so good. Even though it was brief, it was a really good campaign.
Yeah, I saw that.
This was it was definitely going to be a single-player game, and they were going to have like a crossover with Apex Legends characters, apparently. So it was going to be a crossover type game, but damn it, man, that's what I wanted the most out of like the next Titanfall. Damn, that's such a bummer.
Titanfall has, and I've said it before, for me, as somebody who's done a hardcore shooter multiplayer, the best multiplayer for a shooter. Like,
I never played their multiplayer.
Me neither.
I did like the campaign for
freaking fun, running around and jumping in just both. Like, you can either play it where you're just running around while your bot is like going off and killing on its own, or you can jump in it and control it. Like, I absolutely love that. Yeah. And the way they combine real people with AI. So if you suck at killing real people, you can still score points for your team by killing AI units and stuff like that.
Oh, it's really nice.
Well, all I know is that campaign made me care about a big robot.
Dude, that campaign, I played it
actually
3 times, I think, because it's like it's short. I mean, you can do it in one sitting, really. It's
Sam
like
and I just
3 or 4 hours.
We just bought it on Steam, so it was $3. I was like, yeah, I guess I'll own this on Steam now. But
man, I love that campaign so much.
Yep.
I bought that. I bought the Elysium game or whatever. What is it called?
Disco Elysium?
Aiden Chronicle Rising.
Aiden, that's what I meant. I'm way off there.
Chronicle
Rising.
Samson,
I bought that.
I
bought that for $3, and then I got. This is a really good deal. I got the Prey like Ultimate Edition or whatever, which comes with all the DLC. Which Moon Crash I had never played, which is like considered like really really good DLC. I got that for $6. All this was on Steam. It's really really good deals. Which by the way, I didn't know this. Did any of y'all play Moon Crash?
I didn't even finish the main game of Prey.
Me neither.
I did. I liked it. The Moon Crash is basically Deathloop. Like they released that, and a lot of people were like going crazy on how great it was, and then Deathloop came out. So it's kind of like a smaller version of what Deathloop is. And I'm like,
that's interesting.
Well, I love Deathloop.
Mm-hmm.
Well, speaking of EA, they canceled Titanfall Legends. That's sad, but their game Wild Hearts that Derek just mentioned, at least during this kind of AMA on Reddit, I think it was executive producer. Yeah, he was saying that there's no plans for microtransactions of any kind. It can be fully playable offline in single player mode, and there's going to be free post-launch content. Honestly, it sounds a lot like how Capcom treats Monster Hunter.
Yeah,
that's how it sounds. Like you can be online, you can play with others.
That game looks so fun.
It looks. I hope it delivers, man. It's
me too.
It should be.
I mean, it's basically it's Monster Hunter, but without like the complexity. And I'm not saying there isn't any complexity at all. The complexity of the combat of Monster Hunter, because Monster Hunter is not a button masher. I mean, you can button mash it, but you're gonna suck at the game.
Yeah.
This one looks more like there's a lot of speed. It looks like more combos that are easier to pull off. Yeah. Almost like you're playing almost like a Ninja Gaiden combat type or gameplay in a Monster Hunter world where everything's really fast and speedy and smooth. So I think, and I like Monster Hunter, but I do get tired of feeling like battles drag on forever and my swings are super slow and all that. To pull combos off can be annoying.
Well, I always use the giant hammers in those games because they're just my favorite. But yes, those do feel very heavy and slow. Although it's very satisfying when you get a huge combo.
There are bigger weapons in this game too, so I think you can still play slower and more powerful. But I don't know if you're as slow as you are in Monster Hunter.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I am interested too to see how accessible they make it because. For as much as I love Monster Hunter, I thought Monster Hunter Rise was just amazing. Monster Hunter World, one of my favorites from a few years ago. But it still struggles with being accessible to everyone. They're more accessible than they've ever been. Don't get me wrong. They continue to improve that with each iteration.
No, this is definitely more accessible. But I've watched videos.
This looks like it's going to be much easier for folks to jump into.
This is more. You can.
I might be able to stick with this one. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was actually thinking about getting it on PS5, but only if people are gonna actually play it with me. Otherwise, I'll go PC.
Does EA Play Plus subscription work on PS5?
No, the Pro version only works on PC.
So I'd have So if I do that plan of just subscribing for a little bit to play,
well, then I'll get on PC, and if you actually want to play with me, I'll play.
Yeah, I'd like to try Wild Hearts out.
Okay.
The Day Before is a game that's kind of been on the back burner for a lot of folks for a long time.
Real. Fake game.
Does it actually exist? I don't know. But no, it's funny. They delayed. We talked about the delay for this game already. How they were like, yeah, we were already going to delay it anyway. So this worked out. That was kind of this weird conversation around the delay till November. Then they dropped the gameplay trailer. They're like, but here you go. Here's what the game looks like. So
it's like 10 minutes and it's mostly just running around.
Yeah.
It was kind of a bizarre that's your gameplay.
I skimmed through it a little bit.
I think they shot the players shot at zombies for maybe a split second. And
I don't think it's going to come out this year. I don't think it's going to come out this year, and I don't think it's going to be good. So if it comes out this year and it's good, I'd be happy to be wrong about both those.
Man, I really want this game to be good because it looks like what I wanted Division to be with driving cars around and bigger maps.
Well, and that's when they first showed it. I'm talking the very first time I ever saw it. I was like, ooh, this looks like my type of game. This looks so good. And then as I kept watching stuff, I was like, nope, I have no interest.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll play it when it comes out, but I'm not like.
It's like those games that have a great big splash when they first show, and then they almost disappear or become very untrustworthy. Like there was that Korean game Doka V that was announced that looked unbelievable. It was like Pokemon, but kind of the way Sonic Frontiers looks, with this really cool anime style in the city, and it looked awesome. And that game's gone totally silent. It's like, so even if it does come out, I anticipate it's going to be
garbage. Yeah, that's the problem with when you show stuff off too soon. You get excited, and then people get to the point where like, you know what, I don't even actually care if you exist. Yep. I will say that for this game, I think people are a little too paranoid. Again, I think it's that whole I told you this game wasn't real. I told you. Shut up, please. Not everything.
I think a lot of people are like kind of just playing along with a meme about like, oh, this game is imaginary, basically. And then there are some people that are dead serious and being annoying about it for sure.
Yeah,
it's not real. It's a scam.
Fake game.
Well, it's talking
you know
about
what?
things
I
that.
Want to say. Oh, sorry. I just wanted to say real quick. I'm not talking about the game. I'm just saying I watch way too much YouTube, and it's crazy how like I always would say to myself, I'd be like, "There's no way these people really believe this stuff. Like people aren't this crazy." And as I keep watching, yes, I get it's for clicks, likes, they earn money and all that stuff, so they fabricate shit. But actually, I'm starting to see a shift where people actually believe this stuff is real. And it's like the craziness of social media and YouTube and all that is changing people into these paranoid, like everything's a conspiracy. Everything sucks. Like, let's just make news out of nothing.
That's why the flat earther thing was real and still is in some corners of the internet, and that's why some people think things like space just don't exist. Like there's all kinds of stuff like that, man. Like it's
unless the flag was moving on the moon, bro.
Unless I've seen it firsthand, I don't believe in it. But I'm a Christian. I love Jesus.
Makes total sense, buddy. Makes total sense.
Unless I see it firsthand, I don't believe it.
I've got some real bad news for you guys here. 3 of our favorite games. I think these were our Game of the Year games from last year. Rumbleverse, Knockout City, and CrossfireX. All of them will be shutting down service this year. But they're all.
You know what's funny though? Knockout City was actually fun to play. Like I only played a little bit.
It was really fun.
It's actually fun. I think
they just couldn't get a sustainable audience. They just couldn't.
Oh, because there's just too much of that shit, bro. There's too many games that come out that are free, multiplayer. It's the same thing. They just put a different paint on it and then tweak the gameplay a little bit.
That one I kind of feel bad about because it did have a kind of a unique thing and it looked fun. Rumbleverse looked so derivative. Like it looked real bad. Bad Fortnite clone.
Yeah, like I follow like gaming really, really closely, and when I saw that post, I think it was Gaston who posted it or something, and I was like, "Is this that one game like Multiverse?" I was confusing the
Multiverses.
No, that one's doing well, I think, but
yeah. They're still adding random WB characters to it, I'm sure. Well, so CrossfireX, interesting thing with that one is they're shutting down single player campaign too, which I'm like, wow. Bro, you basically just flat out saying we want to HBO this,
and they had Remedy work on that. Like, what a waste! That's literally a waste.
Bro,
of
I'm willing to bet they worked on like
it was literally one guy
literally a resource
from Remedy that they paid $2 just to put his name on the box.
Can you touch this up for us?
He doesn't even work for Remedy. His name is Dave Remedy. Okay, like, that's his last name is Remedy.
Oh, the Remedy family, of course, very famous.
That was another one where I think I remember when they announced it, Kyle and I, because we like Remedy, we were like, dude, this is gonna be cool, blah blah blah. And then as they got closer, we were like, I didn't even download the game. I didn't even try it.
I never tried it.
Kyle and I played it the night of. I played like 4 levels of the single player. I don't know if Kyle beat it. I think he got halfway through the campaign.
Oh wow.
And it was not. It's not good. It's just not. It's not that it's like
I watched enough on it.
It's not that it's like objectively bad, but it's like it's just not fun. Like I mean, it's just like kind of like just the shooting just didn't feel good. The level design just felt a little contrived.
I was gonna say it looks like a game from like 10 or 15 years ago, and I'm not just talking visually.
It was like a 360 shooter.
Gameplay and the AI of characters who are like, dude, I'm just gonna run out in front and give you 5 seconds to shoot at me.
it does not look like the genre that Remedy would thrive at. They're better at making games that are like third-person action adventures with nonsensical dialogue that confuses the crap out of you every step of the way.
If it's confusing, go read a book.
Stories
or find the other room. Yeah.
Last thing I'll mention too is E3's coming up. Of course, they're going to try to revamp E3. We'll see how it goes, because it sounds like, even though they have said they've had an incredible amount of interest from some of the biggest players in the video game industry, I don't think those players include Microsoft, Nintendo, or PlayStation. But great, good job.
But hey, Ubisoft will be there for Just Dance 2023, so listen, I mean, it's gonna be fine.
Microsoft has already pretty much confirmed they're gonna be doing like a Summer Games Fest type of a thing. Like, they'll be doing something during that.
I think all of them are gonna do something,
but they're not gonna be at the show. Like, E3 is trying to convince you to come and experience the show floor and try games. None of those three are gonna have.
Nobody has a reason to do that. Do you know how much money you save by not going there? Yeah. Like, a ton of money. Like, so E3 would have to pay people to pay Microsoft and Sony for them to come, so it'd be worth their while, and then sell tickets at a higher price to kind of like
if you want hands-on, just put out a demo for a thing and then put together some kind of digital presentation.
Nintendo actually was the smart one first. They're the ones that got away from E3 5-6 years ago. They were we're just doing directs.
Yeah. Like, I know people want E3 that as we remember it to be a thing. It's not. It's like happy nostalgic memories attached to it for sure. Like, I totally get, because I still have happy memories of like following E3 from a distance via magazines and then eventually via internet, and I loved it. But there's other things. It's not like there's nothing like that anymore. There's other stuff.
I don't care if E3 goes away. Like, if it never happened again, I wouldn't be sad. Mm-hmm. Only thing that would make me sad is if the companies, and we're talking about the big three, or even you could say big 5 or 6, didn't make announcements during that June timeframe. Like, as long as they all kind of like have a silent agreement, they were like, we're going to do our own thing, but we're going to release it all in this week. So it's that Christmas feeling
still of like that week. Yeah.
Yes. That's what I would miss, is if they were like, you know what, I'm going to have a show in June. Well, I'm going to have one in August. I'm going to have one in November. Then I would be like,
the Summer Games Fest thing, usually they centered it around that last couple summers at least. So that gave it a kind of a hub. So,
and that's going to keep going, I'm sure.
Yep, for sure. Yeah, for sure. All right, let's wrap it up with anything else lingering that we've been playing or watching. I'll just throw this out there. I tried this game, Rain World. I don't recommend it for most folks. It really had a Ori look to it with its, at least with its kind of thumbnail. But then once you play the game itself, it's very like pixel art. Think more like Owlboy or something like that. It's not one of those crisp art styles. It's very kind of grimy, pixely. The animation does look cool. It's very physics based. Both your character and enemies are very kind of floppy around on the stage, which certainly is not going to appeal to everybody. And it's also like really harsh. The idea is like you have to survive, and then before the rain comes in Rain World, you better find these shelters that are very hard to find, so you can die pretty easily, and then it resets to the last day. So it is it's a challenging game that's got an interesting premise, but not necessarily something that I recommend to everybody. But yeah. Anybody else playing more Hi-Fi Rush? I sadly haven't put any other time into it. What do you think?
Yeah,
Jeff?
Any updated thoughts? I played the second level right before we recorded.
Oh, okay.
And I beat that Rekka girl or whatever. She's basically like a pro wrestler. She even has a belt. And it's so funny. Every time she hits you, she poses like, give it up. And there's no audience, so it's just really funny. This game is just so special, dude. Like, I don't know how.
Yeah.
I obviously don't know. I can't predict how the rest of the year is going to shake out, but I don't know how this doesn't end up in my 10 by the end of the year, because it's so freaking unique. And
even if it doesn't end up in your 10, it could be in like, I don't know, did we do it last year? Like, surprise, like we should have a top.
I mean, it literally is a surprise. So yeah, it's so true. Because nobody knew about this game before they announced it at the Direct, and then developer, whatever it's called. Then it was released that same day. So like nobody knew about this, and then here we are, and now we're getting reviews coming in because people are starting to beat it.
I don't even think there was leaks. I don't think nobody ever talked about this. Ever.
Right now it's sitting at like 88, 89.
Yeah, reviews are insanely good for this game.
I actually do want to try it. I know I was a negative Nancy about it, but
honestly, at second level, the first level I was focusing a lot on rhythm. Dude, here's the beat. And the second level I was just more so button mashing, but then I somehow naturally, like Tim was explaining last week, I just naturally got in the rhythm of what the game was wanting me to do, just because it's hard to avoid. Like, I mean, it really is. The combat's just naturally designed for you to play within the rhythm of it, without you even thinking that you're doing it. So, like,
rhythm games are not for white people.
So they're
the art style in this game is so good too. By the way,
dude, the art style is next level amazing. It's so fucking great.
I love the vibe of it, because I'm telling you, it's Jet Set Radio, which I love Jet Set Radio.
And there's like
Jeff, are you actually like chuckling at certain parts? Like it feels funny to me. Like I think it's a funny game.
And there was like a moment where you learn that you can summon your partner in crime. You can summon her and she'll shoot something for you. And when she reveals that, he's like, "You could have been here the whole time." He's like, he's like so upset about it. This is the game that's probably going to make me want to play it more out of all the other stuff that's come out, and I haven't even tried Dead Space yet, so that could be something that hooks me too.
It's so fun to see a new IP kick out of nowhere to kick off the year, and I do think Tango Gameworks has stumbled upon a really great new IP here. I do.
I agree.
I think they've got something.
And I think it's really, really interesting too. Like, I mean, the story is it's not like deep or anything, but they do that video game thing where like you beat the first boss, and then after that it's revealed to you who all the other bosses are, so you know who you're gonna fight and who like the main guy is that runs the company.
The main guy is the same name as my oldest son.
Is it really?
Yeah. Although
awesome.
We didn't name it with a K, but still.
Gotcha. That's smart. It's a little too close to Kane. That's gotta be Kane from wrestling. The way they spell it. Anyway, it's just tremendous, dude. I can't like every time I beat a level or something, or I finish play session, I'm like, why am I not playing this more? Like, this is just exactly my kind of game. And I love that it doesn't really punish you for. I mean, yes, you get a low score per each combat round if you don't really do the rhythm thing that well or clear it in a good time. So like when I first started, because I hadn't played it in like a week. Last week was like Sundance for me, so I was mostly watching movies. I hadn't played it in a week, so like the second level I was playing, I started extremely rough. I kept getting D's and C's. Yeah. And then like in the like last, I was getting a lot of D's, dude. And then the second half of the level,
action.
I was getting nothing but like S tier ratings and A's and stuff. So like eventually you just naturally come into it. Yeah. You don't have to force yourself to do the rhythm stuff and get high scores. Damn it, I love it. And the unlockables are so rad too. Like every time I go, okay, I really need to spend money on an item so I can get another special move unlocked. I look at all the other combos that are available and I'm like, damn, that looks cool too. I want to get that as well.
I think I'll boot it up after our show. I have it downloaded. I keep forgetting because I'm not actually actively playing a lot of games right now.
Yeah.
But I think I want to.
I think you should at least try. I recommend the first two. I think the first two levels are best because the first one is mainly like a training level, and the second level is like, okay, now you're in the thick of it. Now you're getting more stuff revealed to you. That's going to be with you for the rest of the game.
I'll give it a shot.
That gives you like a firm grasp on it, and each one is like a 45 to an hour level, and I think there's 10 levels.
Okay.
Yeah, the other game I was playing was Forspoken. I played the first two chapters. I am going to go back to it, but those first two chapters are extremely rough. I can't even lie.
Oh, bro, New York is terrible.
It's terrible. And then the one after that is, yes, you do get some combat in there. And some of that is fun. But, dude, the dialogue and being introduced to everything is so...
Just go explore the open world. And if you don't like that, then you don't like the game. But the first, I will admit, and it's no excuse because these developers know they should do a better job of, like, capturing us, especially when we're getting 80 games coming out in a week.
Yeah.
But that one, the way they start the game off is absolutely.
And Kyle, I mentioned it to Kyle after we finished recording our current go listen to Current Cinema. It's a spin-off of this podcast. It's coming out every Thursday so far. Me and Kyle. So like movies. when we finished recording, I was like, I played the first few chapters of Forspoken, and he was like, yeah, Forspoken has like gamer padding in it. That's how he described it, where it's like they're adding all these extra lines and stuff, or making you do things that make you go, why are we doing this? Like, it's
he
at the very beginning, at the setup of it.
He said that he really wanted to have added like a Game of the Year award. He wanted to add like best side quest in a game, and he said feeding the sheep.
He loved that side quest.
He liked the twist, you know, where you're foreshadowing Jesus and you're feeding the sheep. He said, "I'm just saying what
you're just verbatim repeating what he said."
Yeah,
and I think he also said he loves the dialogue, all the dialogue between Frey and Cuff. He even turned up their interactions. Yeah. I'll be honest, you guys prepare me efficiently for that. So before I even started the game, I changed the accessibility setting to minimum interactions. So they don't talk at all unless it's a cutscene now.
They still talked while I would play, and they would repeat themselves. But some of the stuff was funny, but some of it was like literally like he would ask the same question like, so something New York, and she's like, it's New York, and I'm like, oh my god.
Kyle pointed out something too that I observed in the first couple chapters, where she would ask Cuff a question, and he would just basically say in a smart British accent way, I don't know. And I'm like, what's the point of Cuff? Like, he doesn't know anything about this world at all. He's just like, he's like, how are they speaking? She goes, how are they speaking English in this dimension?
Someone at some point.
And he goes, I don't know. Like, that's that's sometimes languages cross dimensions, and that was his explanation.
Someone thought that was fun banter, like, hey, look at Uncharted and how they do fun banter as you travel. Let's do that.
And that honestly, that specific piece of banter where she's like, how are they speaking English here? They should not have even written that in the game, because now I, as a gamer, am thinking about it, and now I'm like, yeah, why are they speaking English? Like, now it's gonna bother me if they don't answer it. So they shouldn't have even written the line.
It's kind of like watching the latest season of Jack Ryan, and all the Russian guys were just speaking English with their thick Russian accents the whole time. I was like,
you are in Russia now.
All right. Yeah, got it. I played this.
Of course, by the way, of course, Russians are the bad guy in that show. That's so funny.
I'm playing this. I know, of course they are. Oh, and a lot of it is very like, real world, hitting some real world stuff here.
Yeah.
Nuclear threats and taking.
That's probably why they took so long to release it. Honestly, they're like, let's cool down this
really close to the Russia-Ukraine thing.
Yeah.
I said this, I think, Czech in this show. I can't remember, but anyway, I played this early access game called Black Skylands, which is, the perspective is very odd. Like it's an overhead perspective, but it's you're basically in this airship colony, and you can travel around and explore these floating islands, and you can take on enemies and upgrade your ship and get new weapons and harvest stuff to go back and then rebuild up your main base, build up armory and all that kind of stuff. But the overhead view does kind of work for the combat. It's a little like Hotline Miami-esque, where you're just kind of like quickly aiming in a circle and switching weapons. And
it's old GTA.
Attacking. Yeah, like old GTA. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But I like it. I think it's good.
I like the art style though. Even for being top down, it looks good.
Even top down, yeah. And it's got one of the pretty standard story opening where your first couple little missions are just very kind of lighthearted. You're a little kid, and then it jumps. Some bad stuff happens, and it jumps 7 years later, and now you're kind of like you're a young adult who's now in an actual war. It's no longer pretend. So it's that kind of a thing. But I liked it, or I like it. I think Black Skylands is a cool game. It's definitely early access.
You said it's early access, or was it a demo that you played?
No, it's early access because I own it. I bought it.
Okay.
But I do like it.
Nice. And I wanted to mention the last thing I have that I'm playing is Goldeneye.
Okay.
And I know we touched on it last week because that was released last week. But I finally got a chance to try it on Switch as I was totally working. And that's totally fine, guys. It's fine. I can multitask. But it was, to me, unplayable on Switch. Like, the left joystick allowed you to turn around and move forward and backwards. And the right joystick allowed you to look up and down and strafe. So I was totally just like, I can't make sense of this at all.
They mapped it to the N64 controller button.
Basically, yes, they did, and it doesn't play well.
We didn't have Halo or something like that. It kind of had perfected first-person shooting control.
Whereas, even though the Switch offers online multiplayer, and that's great, they perfected it on Xbox, man. Like, they even widened, they made it 4K. Like, it's still an N64 game, don't get me wrong, but normally when you put on an N64 game, it's a square. you know, on a widescreen TV. But no, man, they made it wide. The picture's wide. It plays like a modern shooter. Like the reload button makes sense. The way it controls makes sense.
It's so
Everything just makes sense on Xbox.
Yeah, it would be,
so
that's
crazy.
so dumb that it would be so different on Nintendo.
I know.
I get it for nostalgia purposes, but why not make that optional? Like, hey, do you want to play it how you used to play it on the N64?
Right. Do you want modern?
Yeah,
you know,
pick classic controllers
with the big Trident controller.
Yeah. Do you? And that's funny if you go on the Switch, if you go to the menu for the controls and because they have like 10 button mappings you can choose from. It's got the picture of an N64 controller. I'm like, listen, they literally just emulated the game into the Switch.
When the N64 dropped and the idea of an analog stick that lets you move in a 3D space, that was like industry changing.
Dude, I totally remember people first like having friends over and they've never played it before. And
I actually would hold it like this and just kind of like, move this. Like, what?
Because they can't figure it out.
Look at Mario. Look at Mario. He's walking in a full circle. Like, that was amazing.
It was mind blowing at the time. Totally. That was amazing. Yeah.
But quickly, other companies like Xbox, specifically with first-person shooters, they picked that up and they were like, "We're going to make this awesome," and they did. And so,
they did. Yeah.
Anyway,
thank goodness that, and I know the acquisition has mostly been terrible for Rare because they've released like one game.
Yeah.
But like, thank goodness that Microsoft owned them so they could at least refine the controls for a re-release of GoldenEye.
Yeah.
So because that's how it plays way better on Xbox. That's just where I'm going to recommend it. If anybody wants to jump back in.
That is totally fair.
I know we're getting towards the end of the show. I'm just going to talk about a couple of things and we can close out. I did beat Dead Space. On last week's episode, I said I was in chapter 8 of 12.
Yep.
The next morning, I woke up and plowed through the last 4 chapters. Good story, like really good story. Good setup for a sequel. Which there's a lot of lore to this franchise. Like I ended up watching a 25-minute like GameSpot video that he goes through the books, the comics, all the video games, all the DLC, all the video games that people don't even know about. Like there's Dead Space 2, Dead Space 3, but there's also little smaller games that are like prequels and stuff like that came out as well. And he breaks it down, and it's real. There's a lot to this, the lore and the story and the characters. But game's phenomenal. Is it going to be like in my top 10? I think so. It'll be hard, but it would be in the bottom just because of the amount of games that are coming out this year. But as far as horror games, it's got to be top 5 for me. I'm not going to put it in the top spot, even though objectively it probably plays the best, and it nails atmosphere and actually being spooky. But I clearly prefer Resident Evil games, so they'll always remain above it. But still, really good experience. And then the only other thing I would add on gaming is I'm continuing to play through Fire Emblem Engage.
Ooh, nice.
Really enjoying that game. Story, I agree with Kyle. The story isn't as dark, and I think it's because the characters, it's like they're so lighthearted that it's hard to believe that anything terrible's happening.
Yeah.
Even the like villains are like, "Hey, I want your ring, and I'm bad," and I'm like, "No, you're not, and you're actually really attractive, so I don't want to fight you."
I feel weird about this.
Because I just fought like the sister of one of them, and I'm like, "Yeah, you're both hot." Like, no, I don't want to fight you. But anyway, so I'm enjoying that. Again, I've said it before. That's going to be something I just continue to pace myself through, and I will beat the game because I just love Fire Emblem now. And then as far as other entertainment, because actually after I beat Forspoken, beat Dead Space, I did get in that lull where I was like,
when you beat a game that you're enjoying, it can take a moment to get back into something. Yeah.
So even Fire Emblem Engage, I had to take like 3 days off gaming, and all I did was watch stuff. So I actually ended up watching Ozark season 4. I had watched the previous 3 seasons like I think 2 or 3 years ago. But I finally finished that series. Really good. I really enjoyed the series as a whole. The season 4 I thought was I thought it was good, but I had some issues with it. I'm not going to get into it, but I just didn't think it was. I don't know. I was wanting something a little bit more at the ending, and what I wanted and what they delivered didn't match, so it was a little disappointing. Yeah. But I can't knock it and say, oh, it's terrible or it was terribly written. Still a really good show, and I like some of the themes they hit on, like where just some of the characters, like the way they acted and how like everybody else was seeing it, and I'm like, it was nice that they were seeing it, because sometimes I'll watch stuff and I'm just like, this character is dumb and everybody's acting like they're smart, or this character's controlling and we're acting like they're not controlling, and the other characters in the show were like, this character is evil and they're controlling. In fact, I'm just going to say it, this is a little bit of a spoiler, but it didn't actually happen. I'm like, you know what? The wife is the villain. She's the villain in this show.
Wendy Bird.
She's going to be the villain. And that's why I think I was a little disappointed in the ending, because I wanted her to like just self-destruct and become like full-on villain. But overall, still a really, really, really good show. Like, kind of sad there isn't going to be another season, but I'm also like, no, there's only so much like terrible things that can happen to a group of 4 people.
Yeah.
Let's just cut this shit off.
It was definitely time. Yeah.
Oh, it's definitely time.
Yeah.
They could have cut it off earlier, but still.
Yeah, as far as like those anti-hero, doing crime yet we're still rooting for them shows go, and there's a good number of those out there. It's not the top of that list for me personally. It's up against stuff like Breaking Bad, so it's kind of unfair. But but it's very good. Like
I like that. I don't know, man. I just love the ending. Like at first I didn't. I was pretty upset, and I think the show knew that would happen, and they were definitely going for that. But I don't know. I just kind of let it sit for like a week, and then I was like, no, you know what? I think I loved it. Just because it was so the anti-Breaking Bad type thing. Like it was so anti every other version of this story we've seen that I kind of liked it. I ended up coming out the other side going, oh yeah, I see what they were doing there.
Yeah.
I'm trying not to spoil it for anybody that's still watching.
It wasn't as shocking and cliffhangery as like The Sopranos, the ending of that show.
Thank God.
Like,
can you imagine that debate online?
What happened there? Dude, like everyone kind of assumed like that happened, right? Did that happen? It seems like that was about to happen, but they went to a black screen, so we didn't get to see it happen. Like that show has an infuriating ending for most people, but which was part of what made it brilliant, honestly. But
right.
But this didn't have that. This had a much quieter. Like things happen at the end, but just kind of felt like things quiet. Like it felt like that final episode. There was tension, but it was kind of quieted down and then ended. It was kind of different. There wasn't like a big shootout or something crazy at the end. It was like just kind of got quiet and there was some sadness and then it was over. It was like, oh, okay.
Ruth's scene near the end of the finale was, she had a good few moments that were like,
she did.
I don't know. She had a great, and let's just say she had a great line towards the end of the finale. Let's just say that. She had a great few
excellent
ending lines. Yeah, that made me laugh. Like I was like, oh, that's certainly a way to play that. That was really refreshing.
Maybe what hurt it for me, and I'm just thinking about it now. I didn't say this to myself before this show and this conversation. What may have hurt it overall for me is the best villain they had. Like I really hate you, dude. You need to die. Died in like episode 7 or 8, and then
the first season or the last season?
No, he means the kind of final antagonist they had.
Yeah. And
he was scary. Like you were like, what is he gonna do next?
Yeah, he was just crazy. You didn't know what he was gonna do.
He had no problem killing cops, like whoever.
He just did whatever.
I actually love the way that all went. Like that.
Oh,
that moment had me. Ooh, that was really exciting.
Yeah, I was really cool. Not mad that it happened. I just didn't. Because he died when he died.
Yeah.
They didn't. Felt like the danger was gone.
Exactly, and they didn't really fill the void with somebody captivating. Now they obviously tried to. Not replace him, but they brought somebody else in that's like, she's kind of creepy or whatever, or she's kind of
powerful.
Intimidating. Yeah, she's kind of intimidating with him, but she wasn't there long enough, and she didn't really do anything until the very end. Right. Very, very end. So
that's when you see how she runs her, whatever you call it, cartel. basically. Yeah.
So I think that's where some of the lack, like, and I was like, oh. But then when I thought about it, and I was like, okay, there's some smart things about it, but I want it again. It's not a surprise. I like twists, so I like to be like, I don't know how this is gonna end, and then them pull something out of it that I'm like, crap, I didn't think about that. That's so good, and that didn't do this. This was like, oh, okay, all right, it's okay.
Yeah, I like that show a lot. I'm also watching an older show that just finished recently that I'm finally catching up on. That's Peaky Blinders.
Peaky Blinders. They wear hats like this, yeah.
Literally,
you need some blades.
Ever.
You need some blades in there.
I do some razor blades put right here.
So I just now got into season 2. I just met Tom Hardy's character, and that guy's awesome. Like as soon as he was in the show, I was like, oh, this show just got instantly better than it already was.
Every Tom Hardy movie needs a Tom Hardy subtitle.
Dude, he's
in that role especially, I'm like, I can't understand you at all in this role.
That was gonna be my joke. The greatest actor who can't talk. But in
that role in particular, he dies.
He seems like he has like lockjaw sometimes because he barely pronounces words as he like jumbles them out. But he's got so much weight in every scene. Like even just the look he gives, I'm like, gosh, this guy's so good. And then him and how do you pronounce it? Cillian or Killian? Cillian Murphy. Those two together are just amazing. And I know they've been in other stuff together.
Killian created the alpha male you see before you today. Killian created it. I have no problem saying that.
Talking about Jeff? Who are you talking about?
Okay,
Me?
Bro. Okay. Bro.
Okay.
Okay, bro. If I give into it, that's a beta move, so I'm just gonna alpha it up and just pretend like you didn't say that.
All right, that's fair enough. Yeah, that's very alpha.
My feelings are hurt.
Yeah, Peaky Blinders is fantastic. I'm loving it so far. Sam Neill can really play a menacing slime ball.
Brothers are in it. I'm trying to remember. There's some brothers that are in the show. They're brothers in real life that are in the show. Sam Neill's awesome, like you said. He's in the first couple seasons. Helen McCrory died before the final season. Yeah. The actress did.
Right, I remember that. Yeah.
Yep. So sad.
Because she also plays. She's in the Harry Potter movies too.
She was
Malfoy.
Bellatrix.
She's the Malfoy.
Not Bellatrix. I know who you're talking about. So Joe Cole plays. He plays one of the characters. He plays
Finn and Joel.
Johnny.
Oh my God! Finn and Joel are brothers. Holy crap!
Yeah, and Finn Cole later shows up. And they're real life brothers, and he plays a totally different character. They're not related at all.
To me, they don't even really look that.
Really,
alike.
I see similarities there.
That's kind of cool. That's cool. Well, I'm enjoying it. Listen, there's even though there's a bit of a slowdown this week, there's plenty that we're playing and watching. I hope you guys listening are enjoying stuff too. Before we get into the crazy deluge, next week should be fun. It's one main game. It's all about Hogwarts Legacy, and then a whole bunch of other stuff in the weeks that follow. But thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Kyle and Dan, looking forward to having you guys back next week. We'll see you next time. Peace.
Dan's fired, so he's not coming back.